We really are approaching total information overload. Last night at about 9:30, I was crawling into bed with my wife early. My children had gone to sleep. All four of them tucked into their beds. And I get an Amber Alert, but it's an Austin Police Department alert. Never gotten one of those. And it's stay indoors. Police personnel are in your area. Very dangerous situation. Stay indoors. So I go and I look out the front window. Streets are dark. Nothing's going on. No cars are going by. So I go to the computer, punch it up. 20 minutes ago, bomb explodes, or bombs, because they reported from two different streets, but it was one bomb. Now they're saying a tripwire. That's 4 bombs in the last 3 weeks. One by our warehouse, one pretty close to where I live in Southwest Austin. And then I learned Kit Daniels lives more in North Austin. He got the same alert saying stay indoors. But, I mean, I figured I got this alert because I was 2 miles from the bombing. And I've talked to some friends that live near there. I mean, they heard it a half mile away. It sounded like a transformer blowing up. Owen Schroyer and Millie Weaver, two of our great reporters, were on the ground before media, mainstream media. Incredible. And they are going to be joining us today. I'm going to get David Knight's take on this as well. I did call one of my law enforcement sources. He gave me the best thinking on this as of yesterday before the latest bombing, because I hadn't contacted the source in about 4 days. He was about to call me. He said as soon as he knows more, giving away part of it, that he will call me. But he said some very interesting things. And so let me just get that out of the way right now. The serial bomber may be playing games with super primitive bombs that are very dangerous for the person that even constructs them, and then upping the level of sophistication of a tripwire to play some type of Zodiac killer mind game. Or it could be a very, very mentally disturbed individual. They're obviously disturbed, doing this for their kicks, but completely psychotic, completely delusional, out of their minds, not just criminal. But they believe that he's using, probably a he, obviously 99% of stuff like this is a male. Oh, that's profiling. Well, yeah, because profiles are real. 99% of the stuff is men that do these type of things. And he's using the trails. There are trails in East Austin that led up to these houses in the neighborhood. There are trails where this attack happened. There were trails near the other one. That way he can park, or she can park their vehicle, get in the woods, construct the bomb, and then bring it to the front doorstep or the pathway. But, I mean, any shaking, it blows up. And that's the exclusive we've given you, is that it's a pressure bomb that's activated by the movement. At least the last 3 bombs were. I haven't got any word on what this bomb is. And that's real information. We're not just saying that. That's important information. You know, we broke the fact that it was very, very primitive bombs and very dangerous to construct. That came out days later on Fox News. So we have this directly. I mean, I'll just let you know, because this is all going to come out anyway. So I'm not going to give up our source, but they're not even really worried if it comes out about them, because the people really want this information out. But we're getting this from federal and local. So there you go. We don't just have one source. And they're pretty sure he's using the trails. There's a lot of trails. That way, again, he can get a car parked one place, infiltrate when other people are on the hike and bike trails. He can't tell who it is, have a backpack, go set up the bombing, and then get back to their car. Okay, that said, we knew it was coming. We first broke it 4 years ago. Communist China is announcing a global credit score. You will not be able to travel, work, sell, or eat. You will be killed, basically, if they lower your credit score. I can honestly say that the news that I have in front of me is the most insane, the most crazy, the most confirming information about the nature of the New World Order that I've ever seen. It is total information overload. There was another bomb went off just miles from where I was laying down to go to sleep last night in my home with my children. an emergency alert saying stay indoors. And we've got the intel on how the bomber, the police believe, is deploying the weapons. We're going to give you that exclusive. Infowars.com. Stephen Paddock motivated by anti-Trump politics. True Pundit has their intelligence sources, which, by the way, dovetail with what I have, but I had to sign a non-disclosure. And I was shown video, and as a journalist, I wear a journalist hat, a pundit hat, an analyst hat, a rabble-rouser hat, a father's hat, a patriot's hat, a fighter's hat. But I'm shown information that's not criminal, and it's off record. Then people decide I'm not allowed to use it. I can't tell you. But I can tell you right now, this is a very accurate report. Hushed FBI intel report reveals Vegas shooting suspect triggered by Paddock's anti-Trump politics. And then it just goes on from there. And we got it directly from the hostage rescue team about how he'd gone to the Middle East, how he had all this paraphernalia, Antifa and Islamic. I was told, look into connections to the Kurds and communist training with Antifa. That came out months later in the news. And they've been connected to bombings in Europe and the UK and botched attacks here in the US. I mean, we were given spot-on info. But they weren't telling us the specifics because that would be violating their orders. You could claim national security. Even though the national security is getting this information out, obviously. The left wanted to blame gun owners. How are you going to stop an Islamic whack job on a bunch of drugs? Wound up. You expose it. You don't blame the guns. Just like, are you going to blame homemade explosives for whoever's detonated 4 bombs, injuring now, what, 5 people, killing 1? What are you going to do about the wildfires? Because everybody knows, and the media has been told not to hype this up, and they've wisely not, but at a certain point you've got to talk about it. Every time the winds get up, there are anarchists and there are nihilists that go out and people that are socially envious, and they go out and they set fires because they're voyeurs, because they're pyromaniacs. We've always had them, but mental illness is up. People are on all sorts of whacked out drugs. And so it gives them a feeling of empowerment, of being somebody. How are you going to stop fire? Going to put a 5-day waiting period on that? Baseball bats, knives, trucks. Society is degenerating. Mental illness is exploding everywhere. People don't have any God. They don't have anything they stand for. Decadence doesn't satisfy them. And so they get more and more mentally ill. Some just become lazy and stupid. Others become very, very deviant. And they fall into a type of mass mob criminal psychology. The movie The Kingsman is basically an allegory of that. And they do have waves they can send over, flicker rate on television, smartphones that have been declassified for 50 years that can cause you to be more aggressive. They can also soothe you, but in that movie, they just dumb it down. And that's what's being done to us. But the globalists believe they have to let us know what they're doing as a metaphysical rule so that we have a chance to escape. And then they believe they karmically don't get destroyed by what they did to us, because if they tell us, well, then it was free will and we went along with it. That's why I've been allowed to be on the air. And that's why I'm not even really mad at the government-connected people suing us and the stupid folks over at CNN and poor little narcissist raging maniacs like Brian Stelter and all of them, is they're just trying to be somebody. And they don't even understand what pawns they are. Because anybody understands this, you understand you don't join this and win. You join this to really try to skydive or swan dive right into hell. So it's a resonance issue. And the wheat from the chaff's going to get separated. What do you think wars are? It's overpopulation. People always start killing each other. Well, we've developed all these technologies, so our populations have exploded, but we have the same race consciousness that we've had before to start killing each other. And It's now being inwardly directed, and it's being directed at any pillars of success that would stand during the great cleansing, as the globalists call it, so that they don't run into any opposition during the collapse. They're going to use that collapse to clean everything off and then bring in their whole new system. But then that's an AI merged system and is totally dehumanizing and the end of free will, and is even worse than the satanic byproduct that we see taking place here in the West because of our decadence. That's kind of a satanic free-for-all. That's bad enough, but not purely directed human exterminism. Now, that said, let me move on to the next subject. You got Paddock, the leftist, hopped-up nihilist. You got the bombing stuff going on. I'd say the same profile, as I said, day one. And then you got this big enchilada. Coming to America, China introduces credit score for obedient citizens. Paul Joseph Watson, 2015, Drudge linked to it. The media made fun of it. Ranking the peasants, China introduces Orwellian citizen scores. Using, and by the way, this all came out before the Black Mirror episode that everybody references. That's where they got it from. The Chinese didn't get it from Black Mirror. Black Mirror 2 years ago got it from that popular television program. So, but see, in Black Mirror, you can't travel, you can't have a job, you can't have a good house if you don't have a good credit score. That's the ultimate class system. Here's USA Today. You will get chipped eventually. So that's the whole pitch. Remember, we were kooks for saying that was coming. Now it's just in your face. Now, this is what broke today when we come back from break. Now this is true gulags. This is true ghettos. China to ban citizens with bad social credit rating from taking flights or using trains for up to a year. So you think you just get a Facebook strike for a week or a Twitter ban for a week if you tell a joke they don't like? No. That's all the model to project into the real world in your internet ID and your national ID. And then if you don't play along with everything exactly like they want, they start lowering it. And then you comply, but then they're able to keep raising the bar until with successive approximation, they'll be able to get you to slit your own son or daughter's throat and pour bloody martinis out of it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the New Testament, particularly Revelations, is real. It's true and it's happening. Now, there's two ways to look at that. It's either been taken as a model of control, like a science fiction book, and is being deployed, but nevertheless it's being manifest, or he really did envision all this, and now it's coming true. John the Revelator on the Isle of Patmos. People keep asking, who actually pay attention to the broadcast, how have you accurately predicted so much of what's happened? You must have insider knowledge. InfoWars is the insider. But by that, people that actually research things and look at what all the other whistleblowers and insiders and historians and futurists and others have said, but also what the globalists have said, and the fact that they conceptualized everything we're living under really about 100 years ago. In a lot of cases before that. And that this is a managed civilization. And that we have been domesticated and made weak, and our families broken up, and men made very shallow, and women made very shallow, and just basically directionless, ahead of the big wiping, the big cleansing, as it's called. There's been lots of little cullings and cleansings and things, but those are just little beta tests to manage, hey, can we give kids by the millions vaccines that we know give them lower IQs and convulsions and give them cancer, and let some kids die, and then manage other people and see if we can, just what the public will take. Get them to adapt, titrating the dose of death where you adapt to people being brain damaged or lower IQs or dying around you. To where there's multiple people working in this building lost their children from vaccines, killed them. I got family. Everybody I know has had horrible reactions to it. I mean, we're all victims, but we just muscle on because they know those of us that aren't the victim mentality, we adapt. But if it's an artificial stimuli from above, it can corral us into destruction. not into overcoming it. That's why you have to be conscious of it and realize what's going on and what's happened. And then you can evolve, not in the Darwinian way, but in the way automobiles do, or weapons, or literature, or culture. You can evolve out of that. You can adapt and overcome, as the Marines say. And this is it. This is the big test. I've been told that I passed the test because I understand it, and I should join them, that you're a bunch of dumb animals. That you're soulless dumb animals. Well, I've seen the people hurting the public, and they got less than a soul. They got something very negative and very bad, and I don't want to be associated with it. At a spiritual level, it stinks like hell. It stinks like failure, and I don't want anything. And plus, it manifests very badly as well. So no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. It's like a con game where, oh, be part of our contest. Oh, look, you're the winner in our system. Oh, I want to be in the globalist pageant with Henry Kissinger and Michael Moore and Lord Rothschild and David Rockefeller. No thanks. And George Soros and Brian Stelter. You know what? I don't want to walk that red carpet. You couldn't pay me $1 trillion to go hang around with those mummies in New York in all the ridiculous evening gowns, all just walking around glaring at each other like demons. I mean, it's the place I want to be the furthest away from. See, you're what I don't want to be. Got that? Good. I know you understand that. To the globalists. Now, I'm going to cover this more. Owen's going to pop in about the bombing in Austin that he and Millie went and covered live last night. Did a great job. Sorry for the folks that got really injured really bad from the tripwire bomb. We'll get into all the details of that. I haven't gotten into just the overwhelming, incredible news of the impending indictments of McCabe and others. And we're now here telling you from our sources that they've got the evidence, it's open and shut, and that they're just being very judicious about it, and that they intend to indict the whole lot. And people have been hoping for this. They've been praying for it because Washington is just for this corrupt system where both parties protect each other. They're crapping their britches because they know Trump is really trying to drain the swamp. So this is a critical time right now, obviously. We have a Dem congressman. One congressman came out and said, remove him now, get rid of him. And another congressman came out last night, Tom Suozzi, and made the bizarre comments about it's time to use the Second Amendment against Trump. So that's a call for insurrection. And that's what I said last week. I said, I can see they're about to go into real violence mode. The attack on the congressman and stuff was a test run at the baseball park. And I'm just telling you, and I know Trump's already doing this, but when they're organizing violence and moving, and I can see they're moving with it behind the scenes, it's time for covert action, and it just has to happen. So if people kind of see InfoWars as a bellwether where the people sit, I'm just saying, I think the president and the military has to do what it has to do at this point. I mean, it would be negligent to sit here at this point while these organized criminals are saying they're going to overthrow the government and kill everybody and get rid of the Bill of Rights, and they're siding with the communist Chinese, for heaven's sake. I mean, we need to be judicious about this, but this is extrajudicial. It's out of control. These are enemy combatants by the very definition. Okay. Continuing. China to ban citizens with bad social credit rating from taking flights or using trains for up to a year. And that's how it begins. And in China, if you can't travel, you starve to death. People starve to death. There's dead bodies all over the place. Look it up. Totally barbarous. They're replacing humans with robots, suicide nets, mobile execution vans, harvesting Christians and Buddhist organs. And now, as we told you, once this is in place, they would then use it for total social control, the mark of the beast I was just talking about. So if you've got a digital score and a digital ID and it's tied to buying and selling, and it's tied in the real world, what you do goes into that score, the Internet of Things, that is the ultimate class system. Well, they got us fighting over being black or white or whatever. The whole AI is coming in. They destabilize culture. They bring down the civilization in an AI-directed takeover plan. And this is it. And the globalists believe they're culling the earth of a human infestation. They see themselves as super sapiens that are going to save the earth and move into the future. But first they must contend with a battle for earth. That's it. And this isn't a science fiction movie. It's not a drill. What they hate is free market. What they hate is free association. They're now removing the word God and Jesus and Easter from everything. I talked to high-level Facebook folks who just did tests where they put the word God in articles they wrote and they were blocked. Or they talked about God in a video and it gets blocked. It's all in live time. All of it's algorithm AI watching. It's here. And Apple's moving to China. They're all making their decision. The decision is they're going with the brain chip population. They're going with the mark of the beast. And China is going to be the leverage with their slaves to make it ubiquitous and to beta test it and to roll it out, and it's here. And the keys to the internet are now being handed from the leftist at the CIA to the communist Chinese, as they promised to do in Davos, to Honcho, the entire operation. The desperate double cross is here, and Trump is desperately at the helm trying to right the ship under massive moron attack. If he fails, there will be weeping and wailing of gnashing of teeth, particularly by the fools that lower the drawbridge and help bring down the republic. We are in our darkest hour. Well, at least twice this weekend, members of Congress went on television and said, it's time to overthrow the president and let's use the Second Amendment to do it. Now, if I got on air and I said, let's use the Second Amendment to offensively go overthrow Obama, even though he was a globalist and a traitor, it would be up to the public to judge whether or not that was a constitutional action. But on the books, it'd be criminal. Remember the Hatari militia, they were being asked by an informant 8-9 years ago, going to the Knob Creek machine gun shootout. Well, what if the UN invades and society collapses and they're trying to take our guns? Well, they said, well, we're going to have to fight. We'll have to work with local law enforcement to fight, which we've had governors and mayors and others come out and make the same point when Obama was talking about the UN coming in and taking over and strong cities and all that. But now it's Congressman. We're going to play this clip on television. Here's one of them. Democratic Congressman has caused controversy by suggesting Americans use the Second Amendment to resist President Trump. Representative Tom Suozzi made the bizarre comments during a town hall event last week. We're going to play that clip. I got another congressman, John Garamendi, saying basically the same thing. And that's because their criminal network is being removed. We're going to cover this now briefly and then get into the fourth bombing, and this time in Southwest Austin, that just took place. And we've got inside intel for everybody directly from federal and local law enforcement directly on the site. But right now, let's go ahead and go to the congressman calling for open physical insurrection and the death of the president. That's what he's calling for. Here it is.
It's really a matter of putting public pressure on the president and making it public, which is hard to break through the news cycle with all the different things. And it's probably about going to the courts as well. And then, I mean, this is where the Second Amendment comes in, quite frankly, because, what if the president was to ignore the courts? What would you do? What would we do?
Impeach her.
So,
What is the Second Amendment say?
Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. That's the way we have it. That's the way we have it. Anyway.
So he's in there to that soft follower, brainwashed crowd that looked like they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, saying under his breath, that's what we've got it for. That's what we need to go ahead and start doing. And that's what they're doing. That's why CNN, when that dirtbag looked like Dennis Hastert brother from Illinois, that Bernie Sanders supporter, that Hillary supporter, went and tried to kill all those congressmen, but the security took him out in seconds, but almost killed Scalise. That's why Wolf Blitzer had a guest on saying he wasn't a bad guy, he was a good guy. Stand up against evil. Wolf Blitzer nodded his head. So they're saying they're not willing to do the killing themselves. These cowards are telling mentally ill people and others, hey, you go out and you get rid of him. It's spinning out of control. He's a security threat. He's got to go. And Mudd's on TV saying, we're going to kill this guy. These people have had this country in a coma for so long, Owen, that they think they're invincible. And, of course, it's coming out that Paddock was a leftist. We had that from our sources. Whether it's guns or whether it's bombs or whether it's the leftists they keep catching, setting forest fires everywhere. These are nihilistic mental patients who love misery because they're miserable little cowards. Mudd is a miserable little chicken neck coward. And let me tell you, the real people in the CIA, they got their eyes on him because he's just one of these guys that gave the orders as a little blue blood chicken neck, because his family lineage, I guess, goes back to the original Dr. Mudd, only other person convicted of killing Lincoln. So it's funny, he's got this bloody bloodlust for Republican presidential blood. And I mean, Batmite over there thinks he's really a little powerful vampire. But see, if you were a little sack of cowardly, ugly, anti-male, just chicken-necked, anti-American filth, like him and Brennan, who says America will prevail and crush you, Trump. America will prevail when you're a globalist. And you're the tyrant illegally spying on everybody. And you're the people trying to suppress the nation. It's incredible. And then the very outfit he's with, CNN, wants us shut down. They run fake news reports against us. They run reports saying that we say that the guy that's suing us, that does work for Hillary and, of the government and all the rest of it, that we said he killed the girl at Charlottesville. Total lie. They never show where we said it. It doesn't hurt us. It hurts them. But and they're going for broke. We'll get into the bombing next segment. But in the time we have left here, they're going for broke. And they're trying to get their average constituents. I had my daughters for a week, and they went for a week on spring break with their mom. Our school had 2 weeks of spring break. And they went up to Connecticut in the middle of the blizzard to go snow skiing. And my older daughter told me that they were up there, and my middle daughter, that when a father learned who they were, began cussing at a 10-year-old and blowing up. Now imagine, these leftists are so weird. Antifa will attack women. They'll do all this stuff, Owen, and now they'll yell at 10-year-old girls. That's how weak and pathetic and unchivalrous they are. But at the same time, they have no morals or no connections to reality, just like the left supports Islam enslaving women and killing gays. They don't care as long as they're allied with it. And it's a virtue signal to try to bully us. And all it did was make my kids love my message that much more and understand the truth that their daddy's a good guy and didn't say the things that guy was saying. And my daughters told the guy he was a liar and he didn't know what to do with an adult trying to bully him when they were up on the mountain skiing, and I guess mom was back at the hotel. So that's the type of stuff that's going on, Owen.
Wow, the Jones lineage standing up to bullies? I'm shocked about that, Alex. I'm shocked. But it's crazy to remember when I was on this show probably a few months back, maybe almost a year now, where I was the bad guy after I got cursed at by a 10-year-old. Remember that? So they're okay as long as you're cursing and shouting and being, ugly and violent, then they're okay with it. But when you were talking there, it was just crazy to go down the memory hole and think about all the craziness that has ensued just in the last 2 years, Alex. You had the Democrat Party get caught inciting violence at a Trump rally in Chicago. They had to cancel that. You had the guy that you mentioned go and shoot up the Republican baseball practice. How about Don Jr. and his wife get white powder in the mail? You've got the story.
But it's way beyond that. You've got Rand Paul getting attacked.
Rand Paul gets attacked. Look at this. Have you seen this, Alex? Helicopter carrying Jared and Ivanka experiences an engine failure, has to return to D.C. So, I mean, it's just craziness. And then you got 4 explosions in Austin. I've got an interactive bomb map here now in my hometown of Austin, Texas. I have to look at this. It's like, what the hell is going on this planet right now, Alex? I mean, you can't even finish covering one story and figure out what's going on with this one story before you have to move on to the next one. I mean, you had breaking video analyzing the indictments that are about to come down on the Democrats and their team, and then all of a sudden there's another bombing in Austin. And you just scratch your head. There's no answers. Nobody knows. Now he's using a tripwire.
Well, I've got they think he's using the green belts. All these places have green belts where you can park a mile away with a backpack, come in, assemble. Very dangerous. At least the first 3. I haven't got any info on the 4th bomb.
Well, and we got a shocking clip, an audio clip, video clip on the other side too, Alex. It's just crazy. It's just wild.
Well, the left is up there at town halls and on TV saying it's time to start killing Trump. It's time to kill congressmen. It's time to kill everybody. And the average leftist is ready to, bike lock women in the heads or get in the face of a 10-year-old girl because they're so powerful. And my daughter said the guy was throwing a fit. A full-grown man was, screaming and flopping around. And this is mental illness. So by successive approximation, they've taken all these beta males and put them into these things, and now they go to town halls and talk about killing people. And they tell me at the gun shops, they say the biggest group is the left buying guns. And for a while, they were buying it because they were waking up. No, now they're buying them for war with us. So now they were always against the Second Amendment, but now they want guns. Well, you do like Paddock did. I'm not saying do it. You want to get back at us, you know, you go shoot up a group of people, don't leave a message behind, and then, no, you're going to blame the Second Amendment. You guys have learned how to false flag. That's how bad you are. That's how evil you are. That's who you are. You are the scum of the earth, wanting us to be North Korea, hating America. The truth is you have existential envy because you're trash. Yeah, we've gained close to 100 TV stations in the last few months, and I've not really announced or put a list out because all they need to do is promote them locally. Then the globalists won't harass them in any way. It's just like putting out on air makes them come like piranha. But this particular radio station owner is a big patriot and doesn't care. And so we're going to do a big rollout promoting this because there are a potential 10 million listeners in this area. They have been trying to keep me off San Antonio for a long, long time. 2 stations directly in San Antonio. And the juicy part about this is look at all these big old FMs. So I'm very excited. We need some patriots to put billboards up in some of these cities. This is a big deal. I can't do all this justice right now. And I'm going to do some promos and put the website out. In fact, just bring it on into me, please. But the No Bull Radio Network and InfoWars working together, and that's No Bull. And then I can't go over all... Well, it's 11 stations and even more. But these are what we're on now. And that's KCAF 92.1 FM, Kennedy, Three Rivers, Yorktown, KIBL 97.1 FM, Beeville, George West, Sinton, KIBL 1490 AM, Beeville, Corpus Christi, Alice, big military bases down there, KMFR 94.7 FM, Pearsall, San Antonio, Laredo, KMFR 1280 AM, Pearsall, San Antonio, Laredo. And I'm just going to have to quit there because there's too many to list. And again, very, 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 very excited to talk about that. And again, we don't list our affiliates. I think we're up there like 270 or something right now on radio. And like I said, they're really coming after us because they know they got everything tapped around here. I mean, they know we actually have hundreds of stations going online. TV stations. You see, America's awake. The globalists thought America was intimidated. No, America was asleep, dumbasses. They like went in a cave with a bear that's hibernating, like beating on the head. Oh, you coward. You're so afraid. Oh, the bear's like, eh?
Oh, he's Russian. Somebody stop the Russian.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, God, it is. See, it's a bear. We got bears over here, too. Anyways, we got the biggest bears in the world. Polar bears, Kodiaks.
Oh, my goodness.
Polar bears are actually Russian agents. But I'm going to list all of them. It's just there's a lot more. And speaking of that, they are trying to shut us down everywhere. We need your financial support. You know, Daria pointed out, I'm like, man, the allergies are really bad today. She goes, take pollen blot from the special quail from Japan that are then bred in France and fed a special secret diet. There's studies behind this. And yesterday I was dying of allergies, of sinus headache. I go, oh, yeah. An hour later, it was like 90% gone. And it did make my sinuses drain, though. It looked like Hillary when she's vomiting those green balls up in that glass, you know. The point is that Pollen Block is back in stock. It was sold out. It's incredible. So get yours today. Check it out. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com. They have a lot of great silver products, like the colloidal silver empowered toothpaste, fortified with iodine as well. But now my dad, the retired dentist, the same guy that came up with all the Super Blue products, has Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle, but it's a little spray bottle. It's also good for topical, and it's got iodine. It's got other key ingredients in it, like the Super Sol Silver that's patented and got all these studies behind it. So be sure and check that out. Again, it's at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. It's Silver Sol Nano Silver. It's got all those studies behind it, peppermint essential oil, deionized water, and more. Iodine is EDDI and more. So it's amazing, and it's only $9.95 at InfoWarsStore.com. Some other big specials are there as well. Thank you for shopping with us. An additional 10% off when you sign up for AutoShip. Okay, Owen, you've been dutifully sitting there, but you were the one pointing out we should plug the stations. Oh, put it on screen. There it is, NoBullRadio.com. NoBullRadio.com. They're carrying a bunch of our shows here, mine and others, So we're very, very, very thankful for that. And so that is 11 stations and more. I don't want to say how many more, but very, very awesome folks, great patriots. And so check it out. They do a lot of live events as well and so much more. NoBullRadio.com, true patriots, putting their John Hancock on the modern Declaration of Independence. Oh, and now back to the bomb map here in Austin.
Well, yeah, we've got a bomb map now. This is an interactive bomb map from the local NBC affiliate's website here, KXAN in Austin, Texas. It's just crazy to me. And, you know, I grew up in St. Louis, and, you know, we had shootings and stabbings. It's one of the most dangerous cities in America. You know, that's what happens when the Democrats got in control and shipped all the manufacturing out and created poverty, just like they do in every other inner city. But I just can't even believe this. It's like, it's almost surreal, Alex. It's almost surreal that I live in a city that now has an interactive bomb map. I don't think that these bombings are going to stop. I don't suspect the individual responsible for this to turn themselves into the police. I don't think, I mean, I don't know if they're working with anyone or not, but if they are, I guess that would increase the odds somebody might go for the $115,000 award, but I don't think that that's going to happen. Now they're saying they're using, you know, tripwires, so who knows what they could be doing next or what they could be planning next. There's all kinds of trails in Austin. If that's what he's using for that's the common denominator. Is there are green belts and trails everywhere, and these are kind of trailhead endings, and so he can park, and he can go in, and then he assembles it on site. That's the exclusive news that the police wanted us to have, federal and local, people that have been there dealing with it hands-on, that it is very primitive, but very explosive, very dangerous, and that they're surprised this guy hasn't blown himself up. And so it's either some really sick, twisted person who's more sophisticated and throwing him off, or it's probably a whacked-out, seriously mentally ill person, you know, who might think he's, you know, blowing up space aliens or something. I mean, you never know with a schizophrenic. But the good money is it's either some kind of crazy voyeur who gets off, guys that set the fires, and, you know, like this, the Beltway snipers, what they're comparing this to, or it is a complete and total cuckoo land nutball. Well, I would imagine it has to be someone that has at least some wits about them, because I imagine it's not easy to create and detonate these things successfully as this individual has done.
I don't know. I mean, they're saying it could be to throw them off, but it's really simple. And it's a pressure. When you remove the weight, it blows up.
Okay. Well, I mean, again,
they're surprised he hasn't blown himself up.
Now, I want to go to a video, Alex. Do we have the video ready, guys? I want to go to this quick clip of the press conference from this morning. Now, one thing that I noticed in the difference between covering the last bombing, or the last two explosions, the third bombing that was in southeast Austin.
This is the fourth bombing. This is Tripwire.
Yeah, and then the fourth bombing last night. And you can hear this in other press conferences. The FBI, the amount of FBI, ATF, and law enforcement on the scene has
500
quadrupled.
500 of them.
It's like crazy. I mean, they are everywhere. It's just seeing that scene was just surreal. But I want to go to this clip. Do we have this clip, guys, from the press conference?
Yes, we have it. Here it is.
All right, go to this audio. Listen to what Manley said this morning. This is very alarming.
And that's the Austin police chief. And that is stunning audio, as you can hear, ladies and gentlemen. We'll probably download that. It's always critical to get the next clip lined up. Well, what did he say?
Well, anyway, he basically says, if you see anything suspicious, a backpack, a bag, a box, a package, a wire, or anything like that, do not touch it, don't go near it, and alert authorities. So now it's like, are we really looking around every corner for a tripwire, a package? There was a backpack last night. Now, they have not addressed this in any press conference that I've heard yet, except for last night. They were also investigating a backpack that they found somewhere on the scene, too, and I think that's why they said stay in your houses until the sun came out. But I didn't hear any updates on the backpack.
Well, I was about to say, this could be a psyop by some private contractor group or some globalist organization. I'm not saying that, but obviously anything's possible. It could be Martians, and I'm not being serious when I say that. The point is that it starts getting a little psyop-y when it's don't come out of your home, authorities are on the site, very dangerous situation. Well, I'm like a mile and a half away, so I'm thinking, okay, Kit's in North Austin, 15 miles away, he's getting these emergency alerts, don't come out of your house.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, that's like just the whole city comes to a standstill because somebody's bombing us?
Well, and that's why you guys have the audio ready now. That's why when you hear this, again, I want to go to this actual audio because...
All right, we'll see if the third time's the charm. Here it is.
Here we go.
Packages. The belief that we are now dealing with someone who's using tripwires shows a higher level of sophistication, a higher level of skill. And so now what we are imploring the community to do, if you see any suspicious object or item that looks out of place, do not even approach it, but instead call 911 and report that to the police department so we can send folks out to check that.
Any suspicious object or item now.
So again, do not.
Well, can you imagine how many false calls this is going to be? I mean, they have to say that, but at the same time,
It's just crazy. I mean, it's just like, really? Am I looking? That's what I'm saying, Alex. I mean, are we really now looking?
no, I've told my wife and everybody, I said, do not touch any packages that come to the house. I'll look at them. And then
Absolutely, you would do that. Absolutely, you'd want to protect your family.
All right, we're going to come back and look at more of this. We have another guest joining us. Incredible time to be alive. Just so much bizarre stuff going on. We're also going to talk about communist China. We knew it was coming. Wait until you hear what the good old Chi-Coms are doing, and it's coming here next. All right, Owen Schroyer's riding a shotgun with me. We've got Michael Malice, expert on North Korea, coming up. Big developments there with Trump's upcoming meeting. If you really study criminology, law enforcement and others try to not give real terrorism attention because that's what these mental patients want, whether they be communists, whether it be a schizophrenic, whether it be some type of nihilist, whether it be Antifa, whether it just be somebody who thinks, you know, they're blowing Martians up. Because, I mean, I've had crazy people after me that want to cut into my face thinking, you know, I'm a reptile. And the media makes the joke saying that I'm the guy that says everybody's reptiles. You know, I didn't say that. But what I'm getting at here is we don't know. But you look at the increased forest fires and fires in California and Texas and other areas, they keep catching people doing it because they have social envy. They want to see the world burn down. That's the term. You know, I want to see the world burn down. In fact, that's a psychological term they use for people that want to, you know, basically blow everything up. Nihilism, self-destructive is, you know, satanic behavior, whatever you want to call it. You can't stop people with a lighter. Can't stop them with a baseball bat, a knife, a gun. They're always going to have bad people in the world. And overall crime's down, but mental illness and bizarre behavior all over the world's up, and then crime's exploding in other areas of the world. Mexico, hundreds of thousands dead. Owen, fourth bombing in Austin, tripwire, injuring 2 men. We had a death last week, other injuries, 4 bombings total. You've been at the scene of 3 of them. My takeaway here is society is degenerating.
Well, and let's not forget about the amount of drugs that this country is consuming regularly as well. Not just, you know, illegal drugs, but pharmaceutical drugs is through the roof as well. So, I mean, and that always has something to do with these mass shootings. Who knows if that's the case with this bombing, but one could draw that conclusion. And when you look at what's happening in Austin with 4 bombings, okay, first you had all of them kind of on the west side of Austin, 2 of them in what people would consider a low-income area. And they started to form theories. First, they thought maybe it was a hate crime against people of different backgrounds or ethnicities, or maybe it was a de-gentrification thing, or maybe these were targeted addresses, but they were still a mystery and they could never really get to it. And then this last one, it just kind of even became more of a mystery because of the tripwire, and it was just a random person walking down the street.
And that's a very yuppie white area.
Yeah, so now they're saying, okay, and you got the intel. They're looking into these trails. Maybe this is where the target is. Find a trail where they can, you know, put this thing together and get away with placing it wherever they want to place it, and then easily be able to get away from the scene of the crime. And so now police are, not only have they raised the reward to $115,000, and they're asking the suspect to turn himself in, essentially. They're also now asking for local people that have security video from the last one to help them as well. So if there's any security video of anybody walking around the street or anything during that time, they're asking local people for that.
And this guy could be right-wing, he could be left-wing, but they always have the same MO of a loner who's mad at the world, that wants to get back at people, but wants attention. Because if they were a loner who was, you know, really trying to target something, they go after who their supposed enemy is, but it isn't. They want to be famous. They want to strike fear into the general public because they hate everybody they see at the grocery store. They hate their neighbors, and they just have a projected hatred of themselves onto the world. What type of dirtbag? It's a male, probably a white male. I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, Alex, my mind is just spinning with this. I don't know. Is this controlled? There's a lot of things that you look at this and you say maybe there's something bigger picture going on. And then you say,
it could be
okay,
Antifa. Antifa are the people attacking folks and threatening to bomb and attacking cat sanctuaries. And the Huffington Post is saying the left is, you know, taking the gloves off at gentrification.
And don't forget, you played the clip in the 2 segments ago of Tom Sweezy, the Democrat congressman, in a tiny little room. Nobody's there, low energy, like 10 people in the room.
Saying it's time to take the president out with guns.
It's like, okay, so now am I supposed to look in that direction and say, okay, this party is getting violent. They've been stirring up violence since Trump rallies. It can go any direction.
And who knows what lunatic that sets off. All right, powerful info, Owen. Great job covering it all. We'll be back. Stay with us. Thank you, Owen. Well, we are very impressed. That was President Trump saying he wouldn't let InfoWars down, that he would try to get the GDP up, get the stock market up, control our borders, get North Korea in line. It's crazy how much he's gotten done. I'm not going to spend the time we have the next 20 minutes with our guest, Michael Malice, a best-selling author, researcher, Fox News contributor, pundit, going over all of Trump's successes. But we knew the strategy of rewarding North Korea, the strategy of giving them reactors, letting them get missile secrets from the Clintons and ABB and the Swiss company, L'Oreal Hughes. We knew doing this strategy of patience had created the monster. You know, the giant, spoiled, rotten, blood-drinking, metaphysically, baby that is Kim Jong-un. And so now, after all that pressure and everything, suddenly they're to the table. And the word is, that meeting 3 weeks ago, and we'll see what our expert guest knows, he pretty much hammered out a framework of what Kim Jong-un would already agree to. Now, the details of what he'll get aren't there, but that he would give up the missiles, give up the reactors, have real inspections, and then sign a deal for a 10-year unification phase. Now, that's what I was told by high-level State Department sources that, because I was asking, well, is this going to happen? Is Trump going to pull it off? Well, that's why there's, quote, riders came out a week after I broke that. They said, no, he has to agree to this just to have the meeting, and that means that is the agreement. And so this is hat in hand from what I know. The sanctions have finally hit the regime. They haven't been real up until then. We know the Clintons and Obama and all them, and even back to Bush and the rest of it, would sit there and appease, and let them have their trade. But Trump went to Russia and others and actually got some pressure. Now, that's my intel from my sources. And then you see the meeting, they're saying Switzerland, Sweden, both countries have been checking out both areas. This is a ginormous win, a huge win right now. But we'll see what Michael Malice of michaelmalice.com has to say. He's written the Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-un. He's been there many times, covered it, tracked it, and he joins us to give us his take. So you heard my little view or gestalt of this, but you're the expert. Is this a big win for everybody?
Oh, this is, how could diplomacy not be a win? Last summer, they were going to New Guam. In November, they sentenced President Trump to death in absentia. So any kind of de-escalation and any kind of talking, Alex, you remember the Iraqi war and all these other, the military-industrial complex loves war. I love peace. I want to liberate these people without any blood being spilled and without any cost. That's the ideal goal of diplomacy.
And they said Trump could never do it. I remember we pulled the articles up a year ago. They said if Trump can even get a meeting or fix anything, he'll be incredible president, but he can't. Nothing. And then now they've never had a meeting like this. They've never had agreements up front. Did you get any? Because I know you've got a lot of big contacts. You're all in Fox News, you name it. That's what I got from high-level State Department, that no. Trump's not going to get embarrassed by this, because if he doesn't agree, the meeting will never even happen, and then he's basically tacitly agreed. Now, he may try to weasel out of it, but A, is that accurate from what you know? And B, what are the concessions that the West is going to give? Because my source said they couldn't get into that.
So here is the lowest hanging fruit. A good negotiation is something that costs both sides little and gains both sides a lot, right? That's in any negotiation, that's the ideal scenario. The Korean War is still technically at war. They only signed an armistice. So it would be very easy for Kim Jong-un and President Trump to just sign a piece of paper to officially end the Korean War. It would just put into official practice what is already the status quo. And right away, they will be regarded as winners on the world stage. That'll take 5 minutes. So that's something that's very easy. But
this will be as big as East and West Germany.
Well, I mean, we got a ways to go before that, because Kim Jong-un is not ready to take his hand off the gun. He's not ready to liberate 25 million of his slaves. He's not ready to close the concentration camps. And there's something else we have to watch out for. This is not a decent, honest person negotiating fairly. So by North Korea publicly, remember, they told South Korea to tell President Trump what they're willing to put on the table, right? Well, what you say publicly and what you mean privately are very different situations. So for them to publicly say, oh yeah, we want this, we'll give you everything. And then if Trump says no, then they can say, look, we're the good guys. We want peace. President Trump's an evil warmonger.
Well, sure, that's what Trump does on DACA. He comes up with a reasonable deal.
Yep.
The Democrats reject it. You're saying Kim Jong-un may do the same thing.
Yep. So in a sense, they are setting up President Trump a little bit. That said, I don't think they will have any idea what to make of him. Frankly, they wouldn't even know what to make of President Obama. I mean, they have a very poor understanding of how we think in many ways. So there's a great big opportunity. Look, if Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer don't know how to negotiate with President Trump, how the heck is Kim Jong-un going to be able to do that?
Well, that's right. Now, looking at this, they're still talking about different times, different places. I know you've got your ear to ground big time on North Korea. What's the other scoop on all this? When is this meeting going to happen?
So currently they're having high-level talks in Finland. That said, it would be unprecedented for a North Korean leader, not since his grandfather, the great leader Kim Il-sung, went to some communist countries for funerals and things like that. It would be unprecedented for a North Korean leader to leave North Korea and go to Europe. I mean, Kim Jong-il went to China, he went to Russia, but his whole point is, look, all these people come to me, why do I got to leave the country? And for Kim Jong-un to have to leave his own country, you know how in Hollywood, people sit at different tables at the restaurant, right? And the important person sits at the important table, and you got to get up and you go to his table to show him respect, kind of like the mafia. So for Kim Jong-un to leave North Korea and meet with President Trump elsewhere, that is a big concession in terms of admitting who has the power in the relationship.
Well, and it would be 50-50, though, and obviously Trump is gambling there to then meet probably in Switzerland, and that's where Kim Jong-un, as you know, grew up in boarding school. So I think the smart money is it being on Switzerland and then him flying in on a Swiss government plane, so it's neutral.
And you know what? And I'll give you a funny bit of trivia. North Korea had, until recently, the world's only one-star airline. It was illegal for it to fly in Europe. Not that it was going to be a problem. When I went there, they had upgraded from 1950s Soviet planes to 1980s planes. They had the plastic, red, tacky, glittery vinyl everywhere. So they're making improvements. Soon enough, they'll be in the 90s, just like Hillary Clinton.
Wow, you know, it's funny. The left is always telling me they want communism, and they got their fancy smartphones made in South Korea. You know, they're driving around in their, a car their parents paid for, but they're so pissed wearing their cool communist shirts. Why don't they go the pilgrimage, the homage, and go join the forced labor camps of North Korea? I mean, why can't communism produce anything?
Yeah, but this is also one of the big problems about the sanctions, because they're going to only work to a point. During the 90s, Kim Jong-il, the father of Kim Jong-un, allowed 1 to 2 million of his population to starve. It was exactly like Stalin's genocide of the Ukraine in many ways. So these are people with a lot of blood on their hands, and they will always put the suffering on the people as opposed to themselves at the top, and they will always blame us, who they refer to as the U.S. imperialists. So sanctions work to a point. However, it's also clear that Kim Jong-un is trying to be much more of an international leader than his father, Kim Jong-il, was. You saw his sister went to the Olympics. We could talk about that after the break. But they clearly want to be world players on the world stage. One of the big ways they make revenue is through weapons trade. So this idea of being a hermit kingdom when they're not interacting with other countries, that is starting a bit to fade away. And that is a good domino to fall, because very quickly it might cause the collapse of the whole wicked system that they have. Just like in China, they really—
Why is his hair, why is he so handsome? Why is Kim Jong-un's hair so incredible?
Because he's trying to mimic the look of his grandfather, the great leader Kim Il-sung, who founded North Korea. So everything in North Korea is a function of the grandfather who founded the country. He's basically their George Washington. And when Kim Jong-il, the father, took over in '94, his campaign slogan actually was, "Do not expect any change from me. I'm the same man as my father." So they're very much harkening back to the past, because those are the good old days, as opposed to now where there's no food.
Man, I tell you, we know where all the food's going. He's certainly eating it. Let's talk about what was the pressure that brought him to the table. Was it Trump mainly, or is it Kim Jong-un like you said, wanting to be on the grand stage. We'll be right back with Michael Malice. I'm Alex Jones, newswars.com. News Wars. We're well over 260 radio stations right now. And I'm very thankful to some of them that have been there in upstate New York and places like Tennessee for 18 years. Been on air 23 years, but been syndicated for about 20. And we've got affiliates that are as old as 18 years. A lot of loyal, great Patriot listeners. We just got 12 new stations in Texas on the No Bull Radio Network. Some of them are really big in San Antonio and other cities. And just another one is carrying us 24 hours a day in Houston. They were just showing me the affiliate agreement, and I just signed that. 24 hours a day on FM in Houston, covering Houston. That they have fought so hard to keep us off the radio, but all the censorship, all the attacks, it's like what CNN and others have done, lying about us, saying that I believe there's Martian bases. Notice they don't play the video. This is not a UFO show, okay? Or I'll go, oh, look, it's a weather blimp, and they think it's an alien or something. Never forget, like, it was like ABC News, like, what is this thing? And it was a government surveillance dirigible, had solar panels on the side and propellers. And I went, it's a blimp. And later it was a secret government blimp. Jones is right. How did he know that? Because it's a lot cheaper than satellites, folks. They got a whole bunch of them up there at 60,000 feet. Let me just stop. Go back to Michael Malice. We just got all these new affiliates, and later in the day, I'm going to plug the Houston one. This is really exciting because they're trying to shut us down. They filed all these fake lawsuits. They're claiming just insane things. My lawyers look at the suits, and they go, it's going to cost money to fight these, but most of them are summary judgment thrown out. And they go, and there's slapback statutes, and they're desperate. Let me ask Michael Malice, because he's not just a North Korean expert. He goes on Fox and everywhere. He's a best-selling author and one of the most famous ghostwriters out there. Very prolific. About the left and Congressman, I don't know if you saw this, it's on Infowars.com. Democrat Congressman says, use Second Amendment to resist Trump. And he actually says, like, we need to use it, you know, to take him out because he's not following the courts. He's been beating the courts. Everything he's been doing is constitutional. And I got another congressman saying we got to overthrow him this weekend. I mean, this is true derangement, and they're suing everybody. They're suing Fox News for questioning Seth Rich, an open murder case. I mean, it's what is going on here?
I mean, Alex, they lost their mind. I mean, Hillary, remember how during the 2016 campaign, there was that talk, well, maybe President Trump got into some kind of secret deal in order to get Hillary elected? I think she made some secret deal with Trump in order to get him reelected. These people are losing their minds. And it's fascinating to me how if you're a moderate and you don't know much about politics and you're hearing a congressman saying, we're going to use guns to take out the president, right away, you're going to want to be on the other side of that. No one wants, I mean, that's crazy talk. And it's probably not even legal, but it's shocking how insular many of these people are, that they're only talking to people who think like them. And they basically try to outdo each other in their level of opposition and the level of extremeness of their verbiage.
Is it because the left's main ideology used to, you know, kind of be corrupt, blue blood stuff, whatever, big city machine? But now all they have is like communism. The insanity of the universities and the no free speech stuff has spilled out. And I've got Georgetown Law Clinic suing me, trying to shut down the First Amendment in the actual suit. I mean, the lawyers have seen it. They're like, this is the end of the First Amendment. This is insane. So I think the communist ideology that was at the heart, even though we know it's broken and doesn't work, I think the radicalness, the violentness of that is what's spilling into the mainstream.
Well, what happened in the consequence of the 2016 election? The question was, who is going to be the leader of the Democratic Party now that Hillary Clinton lost? And apparently the answer is a porn star and some traumatized high school kids. I mean, they have no leadership, and they're desperately asking for someone to lead them out of this wilderness because they don't know how they got themselves into the place that they're in. This was not supposed to happen. And remember all the talk, Trump's not going to last a year. He's going to resign. He doesn't really want to be president. Well, he's never going to get anything through Congress. He's not going to. He's going to start World War III. None of these things happened. So all their predictions came true. And rather than try to question their own assumptions, they're left scratching their heads and wondering who's going to save them from this mess of their own making.
That's right. I mean, Trump is basically coming up with royal flushes every hand. It's almost messianic. It's making my head spin. And then they're getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. And they don't know about the Streisand effect. When they try to shut us down and call for us to be killed and stuff, like you said, all that's doing is ballooning libertarian, conservative, nationalistic media. We're growing as fast as we were in the election year. That never happens. And I think you're right. I think they've gone crazy. That's what my lawyers think. Because I got top lawyers. They say these are temper tantrums they're throwing.
Well, and look at, the media, the corporate press, who has no problem. Remember when CNN said they might sue a kid who made a joke GIF from a wrestling image with their logo? And now the same people, the New York Times, CNN, they try to present themselves as victims. The idea that they're the ones who are being bullied and persecuted because people don't want to listen to their crap anymore. I mean, it's mind-boggling, the shamelessness from some of these people. There are some good ones, let's be fair. But for a lot of them, they've really gone off the deep end. And it's kind of like Jim Acosta from CNN is a great one. I'm sure you remember when Trump just kicked him out of the Oval Office rather than engage with him.
He was out.
It's out. Like, we're not having a conversation. You are not playing fair. You're not arguing with a straight face. There's nothing to discuss. Get out.
Well, I mean, Acosta and these guys are the ones that say that there's no Martin Luther King bust and Trump didn't really visit Scalise. It's like they lie. Ballface. It's not like they're making mistakes.
What about he wouldn't shake Angela Merkel's hand? And there's the photo of him shaking her hand. What about he dumped in all the fish food into the fish pond in Japan, and then the next photo, the Japanese guy dumped in all the fish food. So they're just so desperate. And Mike Pence is another one. They're beside themselves to try to kind of demean him and discredit him. What has Mike Pence done at all? Vice President doesn't do anything. He's just a placeholder. So it's because they can't go after Trump, and they're going to go after his number two. So it's kind of shocking to watch. And it's kind of hysterical given their tone. It would be one thing if they were saying everything calmly, peacefully, President Trump's this, President Trump's that. But the apoplexy is something very unprofessional and kind of hilarious.
So let me ask you this, because we got off of the North Korea thing. What are they going to do as Trump continues to succeed, it looks like?
I remember at CNN, when this meeting came out, they had to find a way to spin it as bad. They said, 2 months isn't going to be enough for Trump to get ready for this meeting with North Korea. Are you telling me there haven't been plans in place since Clinton for meetings with North Korea from the State Department?
And they haven't had dozens of plans all indexed and re-indexed and hundreds of experts lined up ready? Yeah.
I mean, how is that even conceivable that there aren't backup plans for every possible meeting with every world leader, that these bureaucrats, that's the one thing they're good at. They're going to have those files of what to do in these situations. So they don't know what to say. They were very anti-war during the Bush years, and now somehow they have to be pro-war, which goes in some way against their nature, and it's just
they would always lie and say Trump was never against the Iraq War. I have the 3 clips, all of them phone interviews on Fox and CNN from months before the war saying it's a bad idea, we shouldn't go in.
The only thing that matters to me is that Trump and the administration is against war with Korea. And that is what he is against, and that is what everyone should hope for, a peaceful resolution to this horrible regime.
Yeah, I think they're going to get a deal, and I agree Kim Jong may try to back out of it later, but if they can just end that war, that's better for everybody and try to get some help into those people. Michael Malice, thank you so much. God bless. We'll be back with David Knight in studio, the latest on the bombing and Communist China's big announcement. I've got to get to this. This is really important. David Knight's here riding shotgun with me because I wanted to get his take as a fellow Austinite on the 4th bombing last night. That injured 2 men. It was in a nicer area by some green belts. The police think that the bomber, according to our sources, is getting to these places without being observed using the green belts. So we're going to break that down. We're also going to get his take on the mark of the beast. And that's what this is. You know, if the mark of the beast came and nobody made a big deal about it, would it be put into place? And even if you don't believe in the devil, a worldwide planetary government that can control your political activity, your cultural activity, your breeding, everything, your biology, according to a score that integrates into every facet of your life through the internet, that is called the Master Plan of Control, envisioned over 2,000 years ago on the Isle of Patmos. So what's happening? We'll talk about that with David Knight in the next segment. It's a big deal. China to ban citizens with bad social credit rating from taking flights or using trains to up to a year. You knew it was coming. And this is the model. And David's been to China. He's an engineer. One of his daughter is adopted from China. So he can say a lot about what a truly hellish place that is. Paul Watson was married to a Chinese woman, traveled there many times, and he said it is, even in the nicer areas, you'll see dead bodies. People don't help each other. It is hell on earth in many areas. So that's what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. That's been chosen as the worldwide model. So that's what Facebook, Twitter, they're all incrementally bringing us into this right now. But before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't buy the products, we will not be able to fund this operation. And it's just that simple. And yes, we're getting a lot of new affiliates. The Houston affiliates, TV and radio. We're also on cable there for years, on Phonoscope, doing a great job on basic cable. So thank God for those folks. Be sure and support those folks. But we're getting new affiliates every couple days now. This is very, very exciting. So the persecution has caused us to get more AM and FM stations and TV stations. But all these lawsuits filed by the globalists can and will be defeated. They are frauds out of hand. But it'll take money, it'll take time. And so you spreading the word, you buying the products, that is the cure for this. So we have the new Super Blue product that is a spray bottle of high-quality iodine and a very special patented type of nano silver that is just amazing, very, 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 very strong. And we've got that as well, part of the new product that is Super Silver Immune Gargle, because you can also swallow it because it is supplement grade and is good for the body overall. Iodine, EDI type, silver salt, nano silver, deionized water, stevia, peppermint essential oil. You can also use it as a disinfectant on your hands. The alcohol and chemical-based ones, lower fertility, cause cracking and issues for a lot of people. So this is really amazing. And it just came out. So Immune Gargle, now available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. And then separately, sold out for months, now reformulated to be stronger and for a lower price. I had to sign a year purchase order on this, matching about what we bought last year, but I was able to drive down the price about 30% and get more of the organic compounds in each capsule. And it's 4 or 5 big regimens for your guts. This is the other side of the equation for probiotic. We sell great probiotics as well, the Biome Defense and others that are the highest quality we can get. Thousands of reviews for the products. The new Myco ZX Plus already has a bunch of reviews, and it is the lowest price ever. Leading competitors are, we're talking $60, $70. This is $24.73 when you sign up for auto ship. An additional 10% off. Regular discounted price right now, 50% off, $27.48. And let me tell you, it knocks out the candida, the mold, the fungus. They create these slime walls, and then it creates this takeover in your body, bad bacteria, then live in symbiosis with it. Well, this is designed to knock that out in a healthy, good way for your body, and dramatic results. Go read the reviews, ladies and gentlemen, and you owe it to yourself, and then it's a win-win. It funds the tip of the spear in the information war. So, again, thank you all for your support. You make it all possible. We are getting a lot of new affiliates, but, again, that's the Streisand effect. They're trying to smother us, trying to block us online and everybody else at the same time, because we're kind of the lead dog in the fight, or the lead ship. We're going through some mutations here, growing, getting pushed back. But overall, we're having victory. For the average person, you're being censored. The action then is more talk radio, more calling into C-SPAN, more action online, more tweeting, more Facebooking, more reaching out, more physically demonstrating, more taking action. So thank you all for what you're doing. We're in this together, and I salute you. David Knight, you live here in Austin. We all got these alerts about, stay in your house, very dangerous situation. This was a mile and a half, from where I live, near the warehouse. We had bombings last week, bombings before that. I just wanted to get you on to give us your take looking at this and any patterns you see, the way it's being handled, what your gut thinks is going on here.
Yeah, this one that went off last night or early this morning wasn't too far from where we lived when we first moved here. And, what we saw, Alex, was the beginning of the month, March 2nd, we saw a bomb go off, killed one black man, 39 years old. Then 10 days later, on the 12th, we had 2 bombs go off. We had a young black man, 17 years old, and his mother, he was killed. His mother was critically injured. And then that same day, we had a 75-year-old Hispanic lady who was critically injured. They said, well, it looks like they're targeting racial neighborhoods and so forth. And those bombings that happened on the 12th, they were relatively close to each other. The one that was on the 12th was a bit further north, not too far away. Now, yesterday, we had one that was on kind of the western side of Austin. It was an area that I would say is white middle class, upper middle class. And so now these two individuals that were hit with this bomb are not black. The police chief had been saying, well, I think it's a racial issue. Now that doesn't look like that's perhaps the case. This is a different type of bomb. And although the police chief said that it was the detonation was different, he said there were some similarities, but then he said it's a different level of skill. So it's
is it a copycatter?
Yeah, is it a copycatter? I don't really know. I mean, they've got 500 or more people that are looking at this, not only from the local police department, but from the FBI, ATF, and so forth. All we see is something that doesn't really look like a discernible pattern. Even what changed today was even the type of bombing that is there. So it's a real tragedy when anybody dies. I know when that 17-year-old young black boy was killed. He looked like a model student. I mean, it's a real tragedy when somebody that young dies. It's a tragedy when somebody that's
and it's so senseless.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to kill anybody, but if I am, it's going to be an enemy or to defend myself. Why would you just randomly? And a lot of times we know the criminology. I'm not saying that's what it is, but a lot of times it's the occult, like the Zodiac killer and others. They do these codes. You know, maybe it's going to be, you know, the bombing in the shape of a skull, or a guy tried to recreate Fight Club with bombs going off to make a smiley face.
Right.
I mean, who knows?
You know, you look at a situation like this, and we got hundreds of people looking at this, and you know, not to make light of this, but I know who did it. It's Putin.
Oh.
Because when we look at, I mean, seriously, though.
Every election, they know, well, Putin did.
Right.
Putin did do what he did yesterday.
Well, yeah, that's right.
He just won in Russia.
But I was talking earlier today to William F. Jasper, the New American, on the morning show.
I was watching.
And we were talking about China. And I find it interesting that whenever President Trump talks about the trade war that has been created against the United States, this isn't talking about a new trade war. We've had a trade war against us for decades. It was launched by the globalists.
And our media won't talk about it. All Trump's doing is equalizing.
Well, whenever Trump talks about trade tariffs to equalize things, as we pointed out, the tariffs on automobiles are 4 times greater for American cars going into China than they are for Chinese cars coming into America. And when we're talking about Europe, it's a 4-time differential.
And they call that free trade, them gang raping us.
That's right. I said there's...
And our own media won't tell the public that.
There's no such thing as free trade. We've said all along, when we talk about, as libertarians, we talk about socialism, we say there's no such thing as free lunch. There is no such thing as free trade. When you got thousands of pages of this stuff, when you got a 4-to-1 or a 10-to-1 differential.
Well, you know, I'm glad you bring this up, because those are the facts. And you can see Trump, he's not even retaliating. When they keep lowering things, like their taxes to 0, he just puts a 15% tax on a few things. In fact, he's not even meeting them. He's just doing a little bit. Well, 600 years ago, if you said the planet was round, the Catholic Church would burn you at the stake and call you a heretic. Today, if you say CNN lies, they call that a conspiracy theory. And it's just them playing semantical games. It doesn't work anymore. And it's the same thing with our president. I look at trade policy. I mean, I look at the actual numbers. And all these so-called libertarian think tanks, we call ourselves libertarians in the general philosophy, David. I know I don't speak for you because I've heard you say it many times. You know, you've got the Twitter account at Libertarian. But the kind of the corporate libertarian says, oh, free trade, free trade. Well, that means China's got a 0 tax, we've got a 40. Or that means China, you know, like you said, charges 3, 4, 5 times, depending on the type of car, to let ours in, and then we let them just dump them on us for nothing. Same thing for Europe. It's not free. Us grabbing our ankles and making it where we can't have any manufacturing, and there's not even a close level playing field, is not free or fair. And so you made the point. We're already in a trade war. The globalists did it. We've been in the damn thing for 50 years, and it's deindustrialized us. And the globalists said to make us more interdependent. It wasn't fair that America had half the world's wealth. It was, we had to redistribute it. But it wasn't to poor people. It was to mega banks to own slave factories in China and leverage out the middle class. This is a war on the middle class. It is a conscious move to global feudalism, and I've had top elites and congressmen and others on. They concur this is by design. David Knight.
And, you know, when I was talking to William F. Jasper today, the New American, we were talking about the recent moves by the Chinese president to consolidate power, to stay in office forever, and to set up these social credits, which is really kind of a test bed for what they're going to do here in America. But I found it interesting as we're talking about this. I said, look, you got Putin, who just rigged an election. You know, the Russians actually did rig the Russian election, folks. That is true. But they blame him for everything. And anytime Trump or anyone talks about easing the Cold War that they've restarted, everybody erupts. But they don't do that when you're talking about China. If President Trump talks about the trade war that's been going on, as you point out, for half a century, then everybody attacks President Trump. You can't have a trade war. So I find it interesting that we've got these two dictators here, and they've got a lot that is in common. But one thing that's different is that the globalists love China. And they didn't transfer our jobs to Russia. They transferred our jobs to China. And China is setting up the blueprint and the structures for tyranny here in America with the Agenda 21, then UN 2030 agenda.
Buying up Hollywood. I mean,
and
let me tell you,
Smart Cities agenda. This is what
they're all behind it. I went and saw Annihilation. Every science fiction movie, every drama, The Martian, Arrival, the Chinese are in charge.
Yeah.
And because they're paying for that image. I mean, red flapping flags, Politburos. I mean, you know who owns you and who runs you by the propaganda you see.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm getting chills. And now with Apple, with Facebook, but Apple's the worst. They saw China as totally godless, totally murderous. One-child policy, yeah, we'll kill 70 million of our girls. You went and saved one of them. On and on and on. And they're the model now. So look at this.
They have a god in China, though. It's called President Xi Jinping.
Oh, and I love the All-American Statesman of this weekend. It had on the cover, oh, his best friend, elected vice president, elected by the Central Committee's Politburo of the permanent Communist Party by a dictatorship of an oligarchy. Of a bunch of plutocrats, and our own paper, I read the whole article, never said that he's dictator for life now. It was like a celebration. Oh, look, he's wonderful.
See, and isn't that interesting? They won't call that out about China, but they will call it out about Russia. I find it very interesting, you know. That,
but he was elected in the general election.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they rigged it, but it is kind of interesting. And when I looked at this, the reason
so you think Putin rigged the election?
In Russia?
Yeah.
Most likely, yeah.
Man, I don't know. They've even got foreign groups in there. They say he is like messianically popular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he is popular. But look, you know, that is one election that he could have rigged. But they accuse Putin of rigging Brexit. They accuse him of rigging the election that the globalists just lost in Italy. Everything.
Oh, they say he has magical powers.
That's right. Every time they lose something, it's him. And when you look at this situation, again, here in Austin, we got a series of 4 attacks within the last 3 weeks, bombings. We don't know what's going on. People are still investigating it. But in the UK, immediately Theresa May knew that it was Vladimir Putin, even though they have hundreds of people still investigating it. You have the Metropolitan Police saying it's going to take us weeks or months to unravel this.
Are you talking about the poisoning? Yeah.
The poisoning. And so I think we ought to bring Theresa May to Austin to solve this one.
Exactly.
And maybe Nikki Haley, too.
And here's what's crazy about it. You look at China and what they're doing, and you look at USA Today, you will get chipped eventually. It's just all you will. And you read this is the mark of the beast, where you work, what you do, your bank account, what you say, and then there's these sub-corporations owned by the Communist Party, their own media companies. They have the power, the upper class above you, to rate you, and then to lower you to the point where you can't even have a job and you starve to death. That's what they do in China. Or your score drops. They just put you in a forced labor camp. Everything's tracked. This is the ultimate science fiction tyranny. And Apple, Facebook, and Twitter say this is the model they hope to use to stop populist movements in Europe when the Chinese dictator visited a year and 2 months ago, 14 months ago in Davos. So this is not our opinion. This is here. It's the globalist allied with the biggest mass murderers in history, with a dictator, with his buddy as the vice dictator, totally whacked out of their minds, with our elites merged with them, and now they're rolling it out. They're announcing this is the plan. It's like Facebook. You say something about God, you're banned for a day. You say something bad about Hillary, you're banned for a day. They admit, and then they have the nerve to claim this whole Analytica thing out of England, which I told everybody yesterday that was bull. Now Snowden's come out and said, listen, everybody has these companies and these bots. Everybody goes and harvests off Facebook. He said Facebook does it to billions of people a day, not 5 million like Bannon did, trying to get a list of conservative voters by going and data mining Facebook off of publicly available stuff. Now they create this whole new controversy, act like it's the end of the world because some pink-haired guy had a computer program, and now people only think there's data mining and stuff going on with conservatives when conservatives are the ones way behind. They didn't want conservatives to ever try or do something like this. Snowden, Facebook, a surveillance company that collects all and sells users' data. And Snowden says exactly what I said last night when I ranted about this for 45 minutes and this whole fake controversy.
Yeah, you know, when we look at what's going on here, they have the fastest growing subsection of in the intelligence business is geospatial intelligence. They want to look at your activity. They call it activity-based intelligence. They call it human domain analytics. They want the metadata. That is the essence of what they want.
Where you go, what you do, how you're profiled.
That's right.
By the billions. And then, Bannon invented it in 2015. It's like
James Clapper.
It's like saying he invented a pea shooter or a slingshot in 2018, and we already had nuclear weapons for 60 years. I mean, that's what I mean. The way they put these stories out is insane.
Yeah, yeah.
And then everybody jumps on it. Oh, did you hear? Trump did steal it. He got the names of conservatives off Facebook. Facebook is a Democratic Party globalist war machine, and they don't want anybody going and trying to organize on it. That's what this is about.
That's right. It's absolutely about the metadata, and they've been collecting that. And when you look at collusion, you've got to look at the intelligence agencies and their collusion with the Democrats. And that's what I've been saying from the very beginning, is that it's about the metadata. You know, they'll look at an individual that is very interesting, like President Trump. I played many times on the show, Michael Hayden going to Washington Lee University Law School and saying, we're not interested in bad people. We're interested in interesting people. And then he laughs this. and that's
because they steal your ideas.
Yeah.
They do it all.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. But when you look at the difference between China and Russia, China has been used as the blueprint, the great firewall of China, where they censor people. There's that clip, and you can even see the eyeball there behind him as he's talking.
And imagine the power trip of this.
Yeah.
This is the super class able to spell everything you do illegally, using it for their own corporate interest, and then telling us we've got to sit there and accept it all. And then if Steve Bannon tries to go get 5 million names of conservatives so he can try to organize them, that's the newest, fanciest thing ever, and no one ever heard of it when it's just standard 20-year-old technology.
You know, when you look at where this is going, they start out with the censorship, and we're seeing that now rolled out in the United States. But the next thing that's coming
is economic censorship.
The giving you a trustworthiness rating. And one of the quotes that they said was, and this is coming from the Chinese communists, once untrustworthy, always restricted. What do they restrict? They restrict your movement, they restrict your employment abilities and so forth. And we've said this is what's coming with Agenda 21, the UN 20.
And this creates this total panopticonic surveillance thing. And once you submit, they can always raise the bar.
That's right.
To cult-like levels of a new religion worshiping your digital score. It's 50 trillion light years worse than the yellow stars on the Jews and the ghettos.
That's right.
Because your kids and everybody are going to want to access their friends. They're going to want to get to go to the concert. They're going to want to get on the plane. And they're going to say, come on, Dad, take the brain chip, man. Get the upgrade and you can go to Honduras. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown, one of my favorite pastors, powerful individual with spirit, is going to be joining us getting into Trump delivering on so many fronts and where we go from here and what we can do spiritually, really getting on our knees for God. Because let me tell you, I'm a Christian. I've had a personal relationship with Christ. I've had spiritual experiences, both good and bad. I've seen the dark side, and I wasn't looking for it. But you got this worldwide mark of the beast, China, saying you can't buy or sell, you can't travel without it. You were getting into it, David, where your own family's going to pressure you wanting access to just like a telephone. But now the telephone's going to break in the middle of what you're doing because the computer's listening to it and not let you talk if you say what it doesn't want to hear. That's what is now actually happening. The power of these tools, and it's being deployed in our own Western elites that invented all this are merging with communist China. And again, China has announced a mark of the beast system. And the US today is like, great, let's accept it. Let's take brain chips. It's going to be a utopia, except the people running things aren't utopians. They're monsters.
That's why China has been given a pass, why they are not criticized, why they are defended, even when we talk about the disparity on trade. They, don't start a trade war, but they want to start a Cold War at the same time with Russia. And so we look at these two dictatorships here, and we understand that what they're doing in China is they're using it as a test bed. They want smart cities here. They want to make sure that you have to rely on the government whenever you want to go anywhere. You're not going to own your own car. You won't be allowed to travel in the city.
Nothing's repairable. There's no fixture. Everything's designed to take you out of the equation.
That's right. That's right. And as I said many times, when we look at the military, what do they say? You control a population if you control the way they move, the way they communicate, and the way they shoot. Well, they've already got no guns in China. They already control the way they communicate. They're ratcheting that down with controls, social media scores, and so forth, their communication. They have a great firewall of China to prevent any information from coming in. And the next thing is to control the way they move. And they're gradually moving into that from the communication control. They come in and take a look at everything that you're doing, they rate you, and then they use that to control your movement as well as your employment.
And by the way, I hadn't seen this stunning Bloomberg headline. He's the technocrat that says he wants to control everything and shut down free speech. Put that back on screen, please, and print that. That is massive. I've never seen such an Orwellian headline, because it's true, but it's in your face. But it's written like it's not bad. Welcome to 2018, the year of censorship of social media. You're like, well, that's bad. No. The limitations of selective censorship, it's not enough, you see.
Yeah.
And the need for better regulation will soon be apparent. They are using us as the blueprint to lie about who we are, shut us down, and then everybody else, and there it all is. The decision has been made. This is the fight for the First Amendment. And you know, our lawyers have talked to the ACLU and others. They go, no, we totally agree. Alex Jones didn't say all this. It is to overturn the First Amendment. But they said, we're scared. We're scared. Soros money, all this. What are we going to do? We can't believe this is happening. But there's a fight in the ACLU right now and all these other groups. We don't need their help. It's good to have amicus briefs. We're now to the moment where they're like, are we going to just end free speech? I mean, America is now at that point.
Well, it's also, we can see this in another way, Alex. When we look at what's going on with cryptocurrency, First, we had Facebook come out and ban ads about cryptocurrency, initial coin offerings and so forth. Then it was followed a couple of weeks later by Google, and just recently we had Twitter do the same thing.
And now it's down over 100 billion.
Yeah, they always go to these three to enact their controls. So whether it's enacting the controls against political speech and debate, they go to Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Whether it comes to trying to shut down cryptocurrencies because they perceive that as a threat as well, go to the same three people to enact their control.
And so the answer is everybody exercise your free speech. Everybody realize it's like exercising. You don't do it, you're dead.
That's right.
Everybody's got to make a list. I call into this talk show. I call in C-SPAN. I hand out some flyers. I start my own YouTube, my own Facebook, or my own website, drive traffic. We've all got to use the big platforms to drive to our platforms, like Drudge warned. But it's here. And they told Drudge a few years ago it would already be done. We've held them back. So at least we're struggling. But this is it.
Drudge said these different structures, these social media structures, are ghettos. They want to get you into the ghetto, and then they're going to surround you just like they did at the Warsaw Ghetto.
It's a formula in every culture in history. First, you censor them, then you cut off their economics, then you compact them, then you demonize them, then you ship them off to the ditch. Thank you, David Knight. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to you from Austin, Texas. And we've got 4 bombings that have hit in the last 2.5 weeks. One a mile and a half from where I live, injuring 2 men. We've got 2 other dead people, several others wounded. No motive. The bomb's more sophisticated than the last ones. They're saying with a tripwire. They're like a jogging trail right off the side of the neighborhood. We've got Democrat congressmen, 2 of them calling for violence and for Trump to be taken out using the Second Amendment. And we're going to play one of those clips here in a moment. I couldn't think of a better day to get Pastor Rodney Howard Brown on. He, of course, has a very large international outreach and also a very successful church in Tampa, Florida. And he is one of the few preachers, I'm sorry to say, that's a real preacher and isn't a coward, because a lot of the pastors, as they take Easter off of the Apple listings and out of their calendars, and as all over the U.S. and all over Europe and all over Australia, they say you can't say the name Jesus, or you can't say the name Jesus is alive. I mean, this is crazy. And you've got the Pope, who's obviously a globalist that took over the Catholic Church, saying China is the greatest example of Christianity. That's a sick joke. It's like saying Anton LaVey is. China is what Anton LaVey wishes he was. And so you've got all this going on. And USA Today, you will get chipped. That's the headline. And suddenly, ABC News, every child will soon have a chip. And I'm watching this. I remember hearing preachers say this when I was 10 years old. And, of course, now I learned a lot of those guys had been advised by people in the military, intelligence that were patriots. And they all knew what they were talking about. And now China, we first reported this 5 years ago, has a social score tied to everything you do, your bank account, your job, what you say on the street. And all these companies report on you. And then if it lowers, you can't fly, you can't train, you can't have a job, you starve to death. That is the mark of the beast. And so I want to talk about that with the pastor, just where we are. And prophecy being fulfilled. China to ban citizens with bad social credit ranking from taking flights or using trains for up to a year. Well, Facebook, one of my friends runs one of the largest Facebooks out there. He's not ready to go public yet. He basically works for Facebook. I'll just leave it at that, as a contractor. And he said, just as a test, he doesn't put religious stuff out. He put the word God in a post, and they blocked his Facebook for a day. And he sent me screenshots, and this is a Facebook, way bigger than ours, way bigger. I mean, and these are people that are more, I don't want to say agnostic, but not, and they're going, wow, that's really going on. Let me do it. It's like, whoa. And these are people, that have dinner with the Facebook guys. So it's an algorithm, and it's in place. And I was thinking about all this censorship of Easter coming up and the tens of thousands of lawsuits against churches and 501c3s and against everybody, and just the persecution. And if the church would just stand up and say no, it would all back off. But instead, they glitter bug around and try to cover their butts and wonder why the pews aren't full. People are looking for God. They're looking for energy. They're looking for the truth. They're looking for Christ. That's where we are. So that's my 5-minute rant. He's with us for the rest of the hour. So much to cover, it makes my head spin that we are here, hearing that Apple and Google and Twitter are going to adopt this global social score. Even the New York Times says it's coming here. They're like, oh, great, it'll censor conservatives, where your plane tickets cost more at first, or you can't whatever, or you get searched, or next you can't fly. And people are like, well, we better shut up. No, we better say something. This is all prophecy being fulfilled. And whether you believe in God or not, they're manifesting it, folks. I mean, they're using it as a blueprint. And this is a spiritual battle, because the globalists will go out of their way to do evil, even if it helped them personally. It's a spirit of wanting to dominate us. So we're going to break in 5 minutes. You've got the floor. You've got your new book, KillingUncleSamBook.com. Is where people find Killing Uncle Sam. We're going to get that, carry that in our store if we can. We're going to talk about it at the bottom of the hour. But first, just the gestalt I've laid out, Pastor, of where we are and the church and all of this. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown of REVIVAL.com and KillingUncleSamBook.com. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, it's good to be on with you again today, Alex. As always, you slamming it up the side of the head, which, we are in the final hour. Really, as I always say, that the final grains of sand are slipping through the hourglass, and many people are asleep. Of course, this was not something that just happened 5 or 10 years ago. There's been a whole plan, obviously, for the destruction of America, which we talk about in the book. And a lot of what you and David Knight were talking about just before I came on the air is actually, there's a whole area in the book that we actually talk about. But the body of Christ has to stand up. First of all, we have to pray. Last night, we had a 3-hour prayer meeting at the church, praying exactly over these things and really asking God for divine intervention. And the church has to get radical. The people of God have to get radical. There are many elements, even what you're facing in Austin right now, which they can say they don't know the motive behind, is terrorism. It's basically terrorism. And what they're trying to do is create anarchy. And it's all about control. It's all about bringing everything under control.
Yeah, I would say communists and anarchists are the prime suspects, because this is their mode.
Totally. Well, we see that where I come from in South Africa. That's what they're doing now with total bloodshed, and we stand on the brink of a civil war. I just got back from Southern Africa. But so, yeah, I've been in America now 30 years, and I'm watching the total demise of the country, basically because people are afraid to speak out when we have a thing called
I would liken it to a ship on fire, and Trump is desperately trying to right the ship, and these globalist gremlins are trying to stop us.
Totally. But let me tell you, we have to pray for the president. He's a wrecking ball to the system. And somebody said, oh, you fired this one. I said, fire all of the bums up there. Just fire them all. I mean, basically, this thing is so far gone that without divine intervention, we're not going to see a recovery. So the church has to pray. The body of Christ have to pray. And then everybody has to ask God, what do you want me to do? as in the case of you, Alex, you're doing everything you can and more. And each person, every person listening or watching right now, you have to ask God, what can I do? You cannot just listen to InfoWars. You can't just listen to what's being said.
No, you're
here.
right. We have to call on God, because I meant to say this. I have never seen the enemy's assault. And I'm not worried about the assault, financial or media, but the spiritual assault, I can see it. Like Agent Smith, you know, in the Matrix, jumping into people. I mean, it's really, the evil is really showing its teeth right now.
It's beyond imagination what's taking place. And then the deception is at an all-time high, so that people don't even want to believe the truth. So no matter what, many times you say these things, and they're all documented, everything's documented, they say, no, we're making it up. You're just making it up. They don't understand how our education system was taken over 100 years ago and standardized of education. Even the seminaries, Alex, were taken over by the Rockefellers. Used Fosdick out of New York to basically dumb everybody down, question the virgin birth, question the cross, question the blood, question the resurrection. So you got all these kids coming to seminary, they're all on fire, they want to serve God, and in 3 months they're totally neutralized. They're totally neutralized. They didn't believe in the cross, the virgin birth. And all this was a plan to destroy the churches. So now you've got pastors in the pulpits that are afraid to speak out because of the nonsense.
They won't even say the name Jesus. That's the new thing. Facebook, Twitter, Google, advertisements in newspapers. They're telling churches in Australia, don't say Jesus on your sign. I mean, it's here. It's here.
I've already heard people doing like a conference where they were trying to talk to pastors, and they said, look, don't talk about the blood of Jesus. Don't use the word blood. It's like offensive to this generation. It's the most craziest stuff that's going out there. But let me just say this, on the plus side, there is an army out there. And here's what the globalists are not planning on.
Stay there. I want to hear about this with Pastor Rodney Howard-Browne, who's on fire, when we come back. But folks, it's true. The enemy hates the name Jesus, and they hate God because it's the truth. And it's real. They want a world government. They worship the devil. They're pedophiles. It's real. We'll be back. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Because bottom line, man, that is a good-looking book. I can't wait to read it, The Killing of Uncle Sam. And we're going to be talking about it with the author, Pastor Rodney Howard-Browne, killingunclesambook.com. And I'm kind of hysterical here just because it's all happening. World government, digital system that tracks everything you do to buy and sell, to use it for total control, massive censorship, bombs going off where I live, just craziness. But also, as he was saying as we went to break, a lot of good things are happening. There's a huge awakening. And evil doesn't go on forever. So I can play the new South African president saying we're going to take the whites' land. I can play the defense minister saying we're going to kill all the whites. The leader of the communists saying the same thing. It's just so sad to see this. That's another subject. That's what I mean. There's so much. So, Pastor, start wherever you'd like. I'm just making the point that we are in a momentous time, and thank God, praise God, prophecy's being fulfilled. So we do know that that evil doesn't get away with this forever.
No, and there's an army that God is raising up. And I've traveled 59 countries. So, there are people that are totally dumbed down. They're in the system. But there's a group of people that are rising up. Alex, that's why what you're doing is so important. And let me just say this about the book. I'm going to work a plan and send you a bunch, and you can sell them. I don't want any money for it. I'm going to sow that to you. I'm going to bless you with that.
Thank you, sir.
For the InfoWars, yeah. And because I don't even get a royalty from this, it goes to our School of Government. But we got to wake people up to what's going on here. But the fact is that there's an army of people that God is actually raising up, not just in America, but all around the world. And I want to say this to Facebook and Twitter and all these things. There's a new system coming. I already know. There's a new system coming that Facebook and Twitter will go the way of MySpace, because you cannot, listen, people are innovative. People have come up with plans already. I already know of a plan. Listen, I can't say too much right now, but there's a brand new system coming out that's going to bypass all of this structure. So while they try and over here, there's another. The Bible says when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of God will raise up a standard against him. And so here's what the globalists have not taken into consideration. They think that the Holy Spirit is not here. The Holy Spirit is the third person in the Godhead. He's omnipresent, he's omnipotent, and he's omniscient. That means he knows everything, he's everywhere, and he's all-powerful. And he is moving around the earth today, and he's touching people, whether it be in China, Russia, or Southern Africa, or in America. People are not, there's those that are asleep, but there's people that are awake, and there's people that are on fire, and there's people that are on the cutting edge, which I believe will create the new systems that will set the globalist agenda back. Already, Alex, they should have been at a certain point by the year 2000, you know for a fact. So they're 18 years behind their plans. That's why they're so frantic. That's why they're running around like a chicken with their head chopped off. That's why they're trying to get us to go to war with China, in North Korea, Iran, Syria, Russia. They want war. The dogs want war. And people have no clue. That's why they're trying to make Russia to be the big enemy of everything right now. No, the enemy is not what people think. The enemy is this system that's actually manipulating the nations of the earth, trying to take South Africa the way of Venezuela right now. And actually, in fact, they want America to be like Venezuela. That's why you see these bombs going off in Austin, Texas. I mean, as it is to this day, we still have not found out. I know personally, and I won't say on the air what went on with Las Vegas, but people, it's all obfuscation. It's all lies. It's all manipulation. And it's all to create anarchy and terror. And so that people would just say, you know, hey, take our freedoms from us. We'll give over our guns, like these idiots turning in their guns to the police departments, as though that's going to stop the problem. You know, if we get rid of the Second Amendment, then nobody will shoot each other.
Well, it's the same thing with is jihadis in trucks or people with bombs. It's evil. The problem's evil, and mental illness and craziness, just as good as increasing, evil is increasing right now. We see those two forces rising.
Correct. And I mean, you look at London, the stabbings are through the roof now. People are not safe basically anywhere in the city of London. So look, but on the plus side, the church must pray, and everyone must ask God, what do you want me to do? And I will say this to every listener, every viewer. If you ask God, say, what do you want me to do? Just one thing. Give me one thing you want me to do with my life. Not just earn a living, not just live nicely with your family and go to drink coffee and watch a movie in it. No. What are you going to do to impact other people around about you for the better? Because here's the fact, Alex, 100 years from today, when we are on the other side in eternity, and we look, you and I look at each other, we want to look at each other and say, we did everything that we could. We did everything that we could, and we left nothing on the table. You know, I often tell the church this in the story of Stephen. If you know Stephen,
yes,
who was a deacon in the book of Acts, the Bible talks about him, how he was stoned. And basically, I mean, his whole life was really short-lived. And he's the one that said, I see Jesus standing at the Father's right hand. And I tell the church, we don't want to get to heaven, and then we tap Stephen on the shoulder and we say to Stephen, you know, you were our hero because you were prepared to die for him, and we wouldn't even live for him. And I'd rather tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, Stephen, listen, you could never have loved Jesus more than me. We loved him equally. We loved him equally because we were prepared to do whatever. And what you're saying about China and the censorship and everything, I've got friends in India right now. They said India's changed the whole way of operating. Every Indian has one number, and everything comes through that number. They can't buy a cell phone without that number. They can't sell land without that number. They can't fly anywhere, tickets, whatever. It's already happening across India. So they're using China and they're using India as the test pattern to roll out this globalist agenda for the control of mankind. But again, they think the Holy Spirit's sleeping, number one. They think that the church is all sleeping. They are not. There are many people that God is raising up in this hour, and people with a holy boldness that will stand and speak even in the face of death, because we've already counted the cost. Alex, in the light of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, people that signed the Declaration, that lost everything that they had, we cannot call ourselves Americans and then just sit back here and let them, oh yeah, come in, take whatever. In their dreams, they must think that we're smoking some of the bad legalized weed, that we're just going to step out of the way and roll over and play dead.
Well, that's the thing, is they think like we're like them and only care about temporal current power. We already know the forces here. We just don't want to be with that evil force. We love God, not that we're perfect. And you're right, as the evil rises, my discernment, the energy, the Holy Ghost, all of it, I feel it all the time now. I mean, so strong. I'd feel like this, like, you know, maybe 1 minute a year when I was 10 years old or something. Now, it's so strong, I don't know how I'm supposed to contain or to control it, actually.
That's why when we get to heaven, we'll get a glorified body, because really, it's this physical body can't take too much of the presence of God. But God anoints his people to do something. And there's no doubt, Alex, that God raised you up as a voice in this hour. There's no doubt. And I know you have critics like I have critics. And, I care nothing about the critics because I only care about what God says. And we have to just stand up and speak the truth. People are going to make up lies about everybody, and they're going to say whatever they want to say, and that's fine. But I'm going to stand up in the face of tyranny. We're going to draw a line, and we've drawn lines in the sand, and we're going to say, absolutely, you come this far, but you're coming no further.
That's right. I want to talk about the book specifically when we come back. Stay with us. Pastor Rodney Howard-Browne is our guest, and I've seen him on television and knew about his ministry going back over a decade ago, and of course, he's gone to the Trump prayer meetings. I want to get into his book that we're going to carry, by the way, because I've read the reviews. It's excellent. I haven't read it yet, but I've read the reviews. But let's just get it out in the open. Trump never ran as Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. He ran on, I'm going to bring back the sovereignty, bring back the jobs, stand up to globalism, get the IRS off the church's back so you have your religious freedom. And yeah, I'm a man, and I've had some wives and all this other stuff, and most of us turned out to be edited or made up or whatever. But he didn't run as somebody like a Pharisee saying, I'm perfect, and then he's, devil worshiping behind the scenes. The enemy hates him because he's a real deal. Now, King David was a man after God's own heart, and because he really repented when he did bad things. He had his best friend sent off to an impossible suicide mission because he was lusting after his wife. Now, I'm not here to defend Trump on every front. If he'd have said he was Mr. Goody Two-Shoes and then this stuff came down, I would have issues. I'm not involved, some of that. I'm not that wild. The point is, and a lot of it's not true, but the fake church that doesn't care about communist China killing Christians for their organs and doesn't care about the pedophile rings, doesn't care about the devil worship, doesn't care about radical Islam grooming thousands of girls per major town in England and allowed to do it, those silent cowards that sit there while the communists run around and do all the stuff they're doing, they then know we have morals. So like the devil, they come as an accuser and they go, you're president, they said this, they said that. Hey, Trump has those issues to deal with between himself, whether it's true or not, and God, and his wife and all the rest of it. But the way the enemy, with all their corruption and all their evil, and Weinstein reportedly raping women and all this, and then Trump in something consensual decades ago, or his wife, in a nude spread 20 years ago, before she was his wife, that becomes the issue with these really evil people that are consciously evil. So I'm not running from Trump when these type of things that CNN brings out with all their lies and all their deception. I'm just pointing out that the enemy hates Trump. He's telling the truth on his policies. He's doing what he said he would do when we've had decades of the opposite and the enemy hates him. And my gut says support him. Pray for him. I don't worship him as a god. I don't put him up on a pedestal, but I can see when the enemy is trying to quote scripture at me and tell me to abandon the president for Hillary Clinton and Epstein and the Lolita Express and all the crap they're involved in pedophilia and Aleister Crowley stuff and all of it that's documented. So the media won't cover Aleister Crowley and John Podesta and spirit cooking and all the confirmed stuff. They'll tell me all day about Trump and some woman in a hotel room 12, 15 years ago. From a lying, deceiving media, my whole point is, how does a Christian then juxtapose all this, Pastor?
Oh, I mean, God uses ordinary people. I mean, you just have to read the Bible right through from Genesis through. God uses ordinary people, and that's where a lot of the people in the church world, religious, sanctimonious individuals, they thought they wanted a Sunday school teacher in the White House. We actually didn't need one. We needed a total wrecking ball, which we got, by the way. And he's doing an outstanding job. And I pray for him 3 times a day. Every time I sit down for a meal, I pray for the president. We pray for the president every opportunity we can, number one. And then we actually just did a 30-city tour, one night, all across America, from Seattle, San Diego, Los Angeles, all across from Miami up to New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and one night, 30 cities. The president has more people supporting him now than when he ran. And that's what they're afraid about. The American people are not stupid. They're many. I say to people in every meeting, how many watch NBC? How many watch ABC? How many watch CNN? People boo. They don't watch any of that stuff. And then I mentioned the president, even Connecticut. I was talking about the Second Amendment in Connecticut. I got a standing ovation.
No, I agree. They're losing control. I just wanted to get that out in the open. because you have Bill Maher and all his evil sitting there, you know, he's always blaspheming God and all this, saying, oh, look at these Christian hypocrites, you know, Trump likes women, whatever, decades ago. He never denied any of that. The point is, he's been true on delivering the policies he said. That shows that he's a good man.
Totally. Well, look, I understand he's 71 now anyway. I mean, people have a past. I deal with people in the church. They come out of prison. People come out of mental institutions, you know, and then God changes their life.
God forgave the thief right there at Calgary.
Correct. So we don't hold anything against people. And I believe the president is not, he doesn't live like that today. He's not partaking in any of that. And, you know, I backed him before he even was president, when he was still running, when he took out them one by one, you know, with crooked Lying Ted and, you know, little Marco and all of this stuff, the way that he does. I'm actually getting a big bag of popcorn, getting ready for 2020. Because if Flake tries to run, or any of these people, they're finished. They're finished. The president's going to demolish anybody in 2020. And that's what they can't understand.
He really is a powerful specimen. With your discernment, just looking at Trump and what he does and knowing him, I know him as well, but what type of man is that? I mean, he really is standing up to the bullies. I mean, he is our champion.
Totally. A man's man. You know, they try to make up that he would run. But, I mean, that article in New York when he jumped out of his limo to go save that person who had been attacked, you know, that's the president. And, you know, he's putting himself in harm's way, put his whole family at risk, basically to face the globalist agenda and the lies that are out there. So, you know, you can't support the president, then back off on the president. And here's the thing. So somebody said, oh, well, he changes his rhetoric. I said, no, he plays with the media like a cat plays with the mouse. And what he does is he comes out over here, totally out on left field, and then he watches what they do. Now they like the whole thing on.
And he never even lies about it, though. He doesn't. He says, "Oh, I'll hear what they have to say, even if it's this, this, and that." He didn't say that. He said, "I'll hear them say that."
Yeah, he's just playing. He's playing with the media. So the media think, "Oh, well, he changed his tune." He didn't change anything. He's totally focused on what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid, not an idiot. And we have to pray, support the president. And then, like I said earlier, everybody watching or listening needs to say, what do I do? And then instead of people ranting and going on about stuff, do something. Everybody can do something. But there's a whole new wave coming, Alex. I think it's going to hit here in the next month or two or three with a whole new system that's coming out that's going to set the agenda.
Exactly. Just take the old system. We have never gotten 100 affiliates in just a couple months. UHF, VHF, cable, radio, big stations, big cities, Houston, San Antonio, Manhattan. All their censorship was like suddenly the green light where all these big stations put us on. And so exactly for every attack, another door opens.
Totally, totally. There's such a hunger out there. People want to know the truth. And because they're not hearing it from many circles, the moment you stand up, they know in their gut there's a problem. And so when a person stands up and tells them, they go, ah, and they connect all the dots.
We're about to go to break, but that is a good-looking book. Tell me about the new book.
All right. So the book is my co-author, Dr. Paul Williams, a former FBI, and was an investigator for the FBI. I first met him in 2014, and he actually had given up on America. And when he heard me speak, he said, I've never heard a preacher talk like you. So we sat down. I said, let's do this. He said, well, let me help you, because he's a scribe. I said, let's do this book and expose the whole system with the money, because, you know, he knew about different things. But I said, we're gonna start with the money. Kevin Shipp, former CIA officer, anti-terrorism expert, says this book is without question the most accurate description of the deep state shadow government that I've ever read. So we start off with Cecil John Rhodes in Africa. We talk about how he was the father of globalism.
And by the way, it did start there. You didn't just start it there because you're from South Africa. If you know it, that's where it started.
It all began there, in the taking the diamonds and the gold, working for the Rothschilds. Then we talk about how he was a committed Freemason. We talk about how they were Satan. They worship Lucifer. Then we talk the lure of the occult. We go through all of that in the book. We even name the names from Thomas Edison, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. All these people, they were all into Satanism. We talk about the Boer War. We go through that. We talk about the rise of the foundations, Carnegie, Ford, how they used these foundations.
Hold on, you're on fire on this. I want to hear about the book. I want to carry the book. We're going to be carrying it. But folks can get their book right now, killingunclesambook.com. We're back with Pastor Rodney Howard-Browne. Don't forget InfoWarsStore.com as well. We've got a lot of amazing products there that fund our operation. Without you, they will shut us down. Well, I can't wait to read The Killing of Uncle Sam, and the pastor's graciously said he's going to send us 500 copies free. He's not even making money off of it, so we can sell it to you. But you should just get them right now at killingunclesambook.com. And I know the folks he's co-written it with, really informed people. I should get them on as well. So you got cut off by the break. Start over with why this book is so important, documenting where we are, Pastor.
All right, so basically what we did, we started just with the money, because basically the whole premise is follow the money. So when you start with Cecil John Rhodes, you see he was the father of the modern globalist movement and how they really wanted to anglicize the world. And this was all about England getting America back. And the way they did was when they jumped the pond, they converted Carnegie, converted the foundations, took over the education system, dumbed down the American people. This was all done by design. And we're talking about around about World War I. They started rewriting history back. So everything's documented. There's over 1,000 footnotes in the book. So it goes right through about what took place, the American Round Table, the new American Pilgrims, the Duck Hunters, the foundation of the Federal Reserve, Jekyll Island, Georgia. Then we talk about their plan for the control of the world, how they rigged elections, how they faked the news back then. And then we were in World War I, which was the war to end all wars. Talk about that, how America was not going to go into the war. And, of course, then they sink the Lusitania. They get us in through false flag. We talk about all of that, how they prolonged the war and how they were making money off of war. We go through a whole chapter on peace and punishment, the shadow government, the foundation of the Council on Foreign Relations. We talk about that. Actual fact, at the end of the book, we list all the members of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Because that was set up by British intelligence publicly. And again, not that the British are bad. They were just setting up and using the British people as their engine for their world government and the British Empire as their model. And then to try to take the U.S. over to create the new British Empire, which would be the model of this whole world government.
Totally, totally. And so we go right through that. We talk about a design depression, how they collapsed Wall Street on purpose, how the whole thing was done, how America was actually put into a police state at that time. We talk about the occult economy. We actually talk about how that the bailout of the world using the Treaty of Versailles mother boxes. Actually have pictures of the boxes in the book. And then when each box was supposed to represent 3 trillion. And of course, they didn't have enough gold to back it. It was supposed to be backed by 4,800 metric tons of gold. So that's when FDR then confiscated all the gold, you know. Hey, just let's take all the gold. We talk about the birth of the central bank, International Bank of Settlements out of Basel, Switzerland.
And then let me guess, now we go into the world government, the cashless society, the whole thing.
Everything. It comes right through. And then we talk about how Second World War, what took place there, what went wrong in the Second World War, how things were manipulated. Again, how they produced the plague, the Helliwell plan, because remember the CIA started right at the end and they were funding themselves through the running of drugs. And they brought what they called China White. They called it ghetto gold, how they worked with the mafia out of Cuba. And they started targeting all of the jazz musicians in the clubs in New York. We got everything documented.
Let's be clear. A lot, again, just like the left was the KKK and all of this, they're the prime group. They are racist. They are targeting black people and minorities, but it's the Democratic Party. The Republicans are partially involved, but the Democrats, I mean, they are the head honchos of this. If you look at the U.S. alone, it's incredible what they've done.
Correct. And also, if you look at the story that even under Reagan, what was taking place in that movie with Tom Cruise, American Made, you know, which is based on a true story.
Oh, it's a very powerful movie.
Yeah, they were running, the CIA has been running a drug cartel for a long time. And the Vatican Bank is the money laundering bank for all the drug cartels.
Oh, let me briefly, before we get back into the book. Look, I don't want to get in fights with people. I know a lot of Catholics that are good people. They have good souls. I'm not a judge. They love God. But this Pope saying communism's great, open your borders, he's got walls, the Jesuit black Pope stuff, he sounds like the most leftist Hollywood person. He says he doesn't like hearing about Europe's Christian roots. We know they use blackmail with pedophilia to get him in charge. And I know you were telling me some of that's in the book. What most of the Catholics I know are the biggest group upset about this Pope. Who is he?
Well, he should actually be arrested for war crimes and was involved in Operation Gladio in Operation Condor in Central South America. And the reason they chose a Spanish Pope was because Catholicism in Central South America is losing a foothold, because Christianity is exploding, the gospel's exploding, churches exploding. So they had to try to stop the bleeding. That's why they chose a Spanish Pope. But it's still not.
So that's the good news, though. But I mean, real Bible is exploding in Latin America.
You know, no question about it. People are done. They're done with the historical lies of the manipulation of the control by some demagogue sitting up in some, throne somewhere speaking as God. People are finding God for themselves. So we talk about, the evil systems, the World Bank, the IMF, how all of this stuff is done through the money system. Everything's controlled through the money system. We come on down, we talk about, I don't want to read the whole book to you, yeah, but we talk about how the Halliwell plan, to fund the CIA basically by the continuation of drugs. We talk about what's taking place behind the scenes with the money system, how they manipulate Wall Street, they manipulate basically because of the International Bank of Settlements, which is the bank of central banks out of Basel, Switzerland, which has been going, it actually started as a bank, reparation bank for Germany for World War I, and then it became the central bank of central banks.
Well, what you say with your advisors is so central, because the Ex-Im Bank and all this, the Marshall Plan, but also Versailles, these emergency reorganization systems are the takeover of nation states in the original EU. So what you're writing about is, and that's why I know the book before I've read it, people should read it, because it's the truth. It's amazing. That's how they did this, just like they want to bankrupt us to bring us to our knees.
Totally. That's how they reorganized China in 1913, using the same kind of
Same thing. You mentioned South Africa, the president saying, take the whites' land, the deputy president saying, kill the whites. And I love those black folks, but the communists take over immediately. It goes right back to this as the country implodes.
Totally, and that was the plan from day one, and they thought Mandela was going to do it, and he actually didn't. But we talk about America, the quota system, how America had a quota system on immigration, how they removed that in '65. We talk about it all on the purpose of destroying America by diffusing what America really was made up of, people coming around.
And let's end on that. What is America? Because I know there were Rosicrucians, and I know there were Masons, and I know there were agnostics, and I know there were alchemists and all that, but there was a core was Christians. What happened with America, Francis Bacon, all that? I mean, how does it all, the mystery of that, tie together? And why are they so scared of it?
Well, because America, you came together, 13 colonies came together really because of a first great awakening that took place under Jonathan Edwards. And he actually would be like an unofficial, basically founding father of the United States, because it was the preaching of the gospel that basically unified the 13 colonies. These were totally 13 rebel colonies.
They were called the Black Brigades, because back then the Protestant and Catholics wore that. And as you know, at first the British tried to target, torture, assassinate pastors, but they didn't back off.
Sure, which I think people back off today. But we show the whole thing of money, how it's come down to the present day, the globalization of poverty, how they took all the companies. We actually list all the companies that went to China and went to foreign fields on purpose to destroy America. There's the start of the World Trade Organization, the NAFTA nightmare, and then making a nation of takers, basically destroying the African-American families by offering single moms
as a beta test, and now domesticating everybody.
Totally. And then getting all the men on drugs or sending them away to war. So the African-American family used to be like 80% were married and had children. Now they diffused all that, but broke it all up. So then get everybody on food stamps, government aid, government support, and just make them a group of takers. And you see that taking place. You see what's happening. And then we talk about the road to 9/11, and we actually talk about all the false flags that took place leading up.
And let's be clear, when they say we're saying false flag, we mean criminal elements working with radical Islam stood down. The media misrepresents what we're saying the firemen blew the buildings up. No, globalists internationally in our government stood down, worked with it, allowed it to happen. And I haven't even read the book, but because this pastor is so educated, so informed, I'm just hearing it. It's all Veritas. I can't wait to carry the book. I can't wait to read the book. People can get it right now, killingunklesambook.com.
Yes, sir. So, but even like to say that Saddam was a baby killer, and how they...
No, I know. Stay there then. I got to go to break for 2 minutes. Come back with 5 minutes. Yeah, the babies in the incubators. Exactly. Wow. This is an amazing book. I got to read this. We got to get this out because just because you're awake, folks, doesn't mean other people are. We're going to do the 4th hour here. Gerald Slint is coming up. I'm going to finish up with the pastor who just really touches me. He's just really smart. Everything he's just, we're synced up. See, I haven't read his book and I'm hearing it. Obviously I cover all this, so I know it. But this is critical to get, to read, to give to the library, to give to your church. Please support us. We've got great products, supplements, books, T-shirts, T-shirt of the month, you name it. And without you, we can't operate. InfoWarsStore.com. But most importantly, please pray for my family. Please pray for my children, my wife. Please pray for us because we are under demonic attack. Speaking of Ted Nugent, we've got the intro to the hour-plus long special we're going to air sometime this week. It's almost done. We're going to air it last week. We shot like 3 cameras for 2+ hours at his house. It was great. That's going to be airing later in the week. The book, The Killing of Uncle Sam, thekillingofuncle.com. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown's our guest. He was finishing up with the book, but just in the closing here, the globalists, even if somebody's not a Christian, they hate Christianity. The UN admits persecution of Christians has doubled the last decade. The left everywhere would deny they were attacking Christmas or Easter. Now they admit they are. And the minions of this don't even get any power off of it. It's a spiritual thing where they'll go out of their way. So it makes my faith, not that it wasn't strong, but I just want to make sure, because we all see through rose-colored glasses, that I'm getting it right. But world government, AI systems, beast systems, the image of the beast seen everywhere at one time by people, and that's television. All of this, I mean, this is heavy stuff. And I just want folks to like kind of stop and go, listen, it's not Dancing with the Stars or whatever that's really important. That won't fulfill you. This really will. And I'm trying to fulfill people, not because I'm even that good of a guy. I just, as my soul. And the globalists think I'm an idiot, that I know the knowledge, and I don't try to decide to use it against people. That just, I don't even understand why they work against their fellow humans in the dark, Pastor.
Yeah, basically, because many people feel, well, the problem is so big, we can do nothing about it. But everybody can do something, just like you doing something, just like I'm doing something. And even in the last chapter, we talk about some of the solutions. I'll run through them quickly. Audit the Fed. Produce real money, end endless wars, terminate the CIA, absolve national debt because it's not ours, stop university funding, investigate the foundation, downsize the government, impose tariffs, drain the swamp, overthrow judicial tyranny, uphold states' rights, halt immigration till we find out who's coming here, and anyone who comes here with an agenda to destroy America should be sent away. That's it, period. And we talk about the solution being another great spiritual awakening, like what happened in the 1700s and the 1800s. And I believe, Alex, we're sitting right on the brink of that.
Oh, that's what they're scared of. That's what I meant. What are they so scared of? Because I know they're scared of me, and I'm not that important. I've not done something yet I'm supposed to do. I can tell in my spirit. What are they afraid of?
They're afraid that the gospel is going to turn everything around. They're afraid that people... Because if we see an awakening break out that hits the primary schools, the high schools, just like when you saw all the kids marching, anti-guns, but what if they're marching for Jesus? They don't want that to happen. Then it hits the universities. Then it hits places of government. This happened in America in the 1700s. It happened in the 1800s. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen again because people are desperate. And all it takes is a spark, one spark, that's going to get the fire going.
And if they just knew everything they're waiting for is there. Full fulfillment, empowerment, discernment, knowledge. Evil has, even people that serve this, they have no idea what's waiting for them. If they just choose Christ, it's all there. All the answers, it's all there.
Everything they desire. In his presence, there's fullness of joy. At his right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. So when Jesus comes into our hearts, he changes everything. He changes our way of thinking. He changes our way of looking at things and just everything, the way our families are conducted, the way we conduct. And it's not that people, are perfect. People still make mistakes, but they make less of them and they become overcomers and they get victory. They wake up in the morning with a solution.
Well, that's what they really hate is the spirit of victory.
Totally. But I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it so strong, Alex. It's about to break. It's like a tsunami that's going to hit across America.
And the enemy can feel it. That's why they're scared.
Yeah, but there's nothing he can do about it. He can't stop this one because this is God that's moving. It's not about a man moving. It's about the wind of heaven that's blowing in the final hour to bring in the great harvest of souls, and Jesus is coming soon.
And I would agree. And let me tell you something. If I was them, I'd be afraid because I love God. But let me tell you, I don't fear the devil, but if I could feel God, I would be afraid if I was them.
True Americana, baby. This song, Ted Nugent's fight for the Second Amendment and our other rights, and the info war. Match made in heaven. Here we come now.
Dogs are running. Feisty is our lifestyle. Come on, follow me.
We're at Ted Nugent's amazing Texas ranch, and I feel like I'm following the white rabbit down the rabbit hole because there he is right up ahead of us. It's good to be in America. It's good to be in Texas. It's good to have the Second Amendment, even though these bastards are trying to steal our damn birthright. We're going to win and we're going to stand up. They're not going to stop us. Thanks to folks like Ted Nugent and all of you out there.
We have the right to keep and bear arms, not just the king. The people, we the people have the right to keep and bear arms. If you try to take it away from us, we'll shoot you. I'm kind of hesitant to even share this information, but once again, information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Power is the capability of correcting wrong.
I'm usually dead on with a bow, but I'm actually sweating because Ted Nugent's watching.
My name is Ted Nugent. I'm entering my 70th rock and roll year of the American dream, my 70th hunting season. I got 14 grandkids and 7 wonderful kids, the most beautiful, dangerous wife in the world, the greatest hunting dogs in the world. I have machine guns and everything I want in life, the best sounding band, the best grinding rhythm and blues rock and roll band in the world. We have reached critical mass, and I'm loving every greasy, gory rhythm and blues Motown minute of it.
Yeah!
The people who hate me are hated because I'm so happy.
All right, folks, inside Ted Nugent's awesome ranch with his great wife and family, this is America. This is the heart of 1776.
I'm Ted Nugent full-time. Truth is viral.
The answer to 1984 is 1776. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
By the way, we got him playing solo the incredible rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, and he knows how to do this thing where he does the drums while he's doing it. He can't even follow his hands. And then we've got him doing Stranglehold live, and we're going to air that sometime this week. We were going to do it last week, but it was just 3 cameras, 2.5 hours. It was crazy. So look forward to that. And of course, his wife is just awesome as well. And we've been friends a long time, but it's the first time I actually went up there to go up to his house and stuff. So that's exciting. And that's what we're doing here. You know, I didn't plug anything last hour. I was busy promoting that great book that the pastors put out that I can't wait to carry. But it's true. I came in here yesterday, and we're going to throw the baton here to the great Gerald Salente here in about 2 minutes. And I was like, man, spring hit. It's my statement. I used to think people with allergies were hypochondriacs, but God, it feels like because I don't really get cold and flus and stuff, but I'll get those allergies. And Barry's like, well, take pollen block. It's your product. Works great for me. It's these Japanese quail that they feed a special diet in France, and it's been patented and documented and studied, and it just creates this anti-inflammatory. It's amazing. And I took to them. You have to chew them, and it's quail eggs, but it's tablets, concentrated. And like 2 hours later, I was 90% better. I felt like I was dying this morning. And they said, man, boss, you look. And I said, yeah, it's these allergies. That's the oak. They went, pollen block. And I went, oh, yeah, my product. That's what I mean. We really go out and find out whatever's the best. And then I'm not a pill popper, man. But when I sit there with that lazy Susan in my kitchen and do the iodine and do the DNA force and, you know, do the ultimate turmeric bodies, when I do all that, life is great. So InfoWarsStore.com, you can get your pollen block. We have the other side of the equation of probiotics back in, and that is Myco ZX. Now, plus, stronger and a lower price. So I signed a year contract with one of the biggest organic manufacturers in the country with our formula. So Myco ZX is now 30% less for us to purchase it, so we just pass that on to you. And it's stronger, and it just goes into that candida, mold, yeast, all of it, and just boom, you want to check it out and read the reviews. Believe me, you owe it to yourself, and it funds the operation. It's 50% off out of the gates. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. So thank you all. Now, I wanted to ask Gerald Celente about this, because I like Gerald. I love, personally, when I'm on the elliptical or in my own personal life, I go on the YouTube or whatever, and I got it on the TV in my garage where I have a gym, and I watch Gerald because he's a smart guy, especially when he's singing or playing an instrument. He does all sorts of great stuff. But there's this new thing. We don't just worship Trump. We don't think he's perfect. But the globalists hate him because he's a nationalist and trying to not go the direction they want. But you've got all these Democratic congressmen. Here's just one of them, this Tom Suzy, in front of a city council at a town hall saying, well, we got to use the Second Amendment to take him out because he ignores the courts. No, he's been winning in court. So this call for violence, that, I mean, there's so many of them doing it. And my 10-year-old daughter was in Vermont visiting her mom. She lives in Texas, but they went skiing there last week. And she said, a guy learned, because I was talking to one of his sons at the ski place, that I was Alex Jones' daughter. He came and a full-grown man got in her face. And that's what I mean. Like, where do they get these people that'll get a man will go after a 10-year-old girl, or Antifa will attack a woman? That's who they are. And now they got congressmen going, we need to use the Second Amendment to take the president out. It's like, don't they get the whole cause and effect thing? So let's play that clip and get Gerald Celente's take on where this is going. Here it is. There's the article. Dem congressmen use Second Amendment to resist Trump. And we've had a few computer problems today. That's why stuff's been hiccuping quite a bit. But here it is.
Putting public pressure on the president and making it public, which is hard to break through the news cycle with all the different things. And it's probably about going to the courts as well. And then, you know, I mean, this is where the Second Amendment comes in, quite frankly, because, you know, what if the president was to ignore the courts? What would you do? What would we do?
Impeach her.
So,
What does the Second Amendment say?
the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. That's the why we have it. That's the why we have it. Anyway.
So, Gerald, what do you make of the current climate when history books are written? Where are we right now? Trends forecaster Gerald Celente.
Alex, first of all, thanks for having me on, and thank you for all that you do. This has never happened in our lifetime. Let's go back to the election. You know, after every election, it used to be after the presidential election, you may not like the person, but that's our president, and it's time to stand behind the president. But that's not what happened this time. The day after he was elected, the headline story, for example, in USA Today was, you know, president enters office with, 74 lawsuits, or words to that effect. And the hate Russia campaign that began during the election under Clinton never stopped. And as we all know, there's not one shred of evidence that proves Russia had anything to do with hacking into the DNC emails.
Total fiction.
Right. There's not one piece of evidence. I believe, I assume, we conclude. Could you go into court with that? We assume, we conclude. Show me the evidence. We don't have any evidence, then you don't have anything. But again, these are the same people that told us Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to al-Qaeda. That's the same group, just to put this into perspective and who we're dealing with. So no proof, but the anti-Russian campaign continues to go on. Now, here, this is from, and again, we didn't talk before we got on the air, but this is we're on the same page. Clinton recaps election defeat. She's in India, still crying about why she lost. I mean, this is over a year ago.
Saying that white women are dumb.
Democrats, quote, do not do well with white men, and we don't do well with married white women. Could you imagine someone saying this? Do you know why Hillary Clinton lost? Because she's a disgusting human being. That's why she lost. Had nothing to do with the Russians.
Yeah, and women had discernment and said, we're sure as hell not with this witch. Gerald Celente, we've got the clips if you need them, Gerald, of her saying it too. When he comes back, I'll be watching as I eat my lunch. Gerald Celente, the trends forecaster, straight ahead, trendsresearch.com. We'll be back on the other side. Just the bizarreness of Hillary Clinton. God, just go away, lady.
Well, it's not Alex Jones, but I was just on with him. But anyway, hey, it's great being here, and it's a real honor, by the way. And I'm a big fan of InfoWars. Go to their website a couple of times a day, and great information. They're saying things that not many people are, and they speak the truth. So, and that's what it's all about. And it's an honor for me to be here and hosting this hour after Alex was on. And I was talking about Hillary Clinton, and she can't get over the fact that she lost the election. I've never seen anything like this in my life. You lost. Could you handle it? But again, she said that Democrats do not do well with white men, and we don't do well with married white women. And part of that is an identification with the Republican Party and a sort of ongoing pressure to vote the way your husband, your boss, and your son, whoever believes you should. So, this really stinks. And again, the reason Hillary Clinton lost is because she's a disgusting human being. And talking about stinking, if you want some fresh air, and if Hillary's in the room, you wish that you had Alexa Pure Breeze Air Purifier and end $50 off with free shipping for a limited time only at InfoWarsStores.com. My God, every time she opens her mouth, you want to have an Alexa Pure Breeze Air Purifier. And the air in your home, of course, is filled with dust, bacteria, allergens, and viruses. You know, people ask me about, do I believe in climate change or this or that? I never get into any of these discussions. All I say is that if you dump trillions of tons of poison into the air, into the water, and into the earth, will it have a negative effect? So we all know there are a lot of poisons out there. But with this revolutionary air purification system, the Alexa Pure Breeze, you can remove almost 100% of airborne toxins and contaminants in your home. 99.97. And that's almost perfect. So, the Alexa Pure Breeze has been a game changer since it came out a couple of years ago, and comparable units cost as much as $800, but they're bringing you at InfoWars for a special $50 off with free shipping. The Alexa Pure Breeze is a necessity for any clean home. Get yours today at InfoWarsStores.com to get it for $50 off with free shipping on this product for only a limited time. So, again, put your money where your mind is. Support InfoWars. There's a lot of crummy information out there, and it's important that you get the people that do the best to speak the truth. I don't want to waste time on Hillary Clinton, but I want to put this into context. This is from our Fall Trends Journal right after the election. She keeps making this money. I don't know why people would pay to read her book or go see her, but she was just in India. And she, again, this is over. You lost, all right? I've never seen this in my life. You lost. Could you get over it? Again, the reason you lost is people can't stand you. You're a disgusting human being. Hey, you remember that video, everybody, when they asked Hillary how she felt when she found out Muammar Gaddafi, the leader of Libya, was killed on a war started by Hillary, Samantha Power, Susan Rice, and backed by Obama, folks. Anyway, Hillary said, when they asked her how she felt, we came, we saw, He died. I can't believe why people didn't vote for her. Anyway, these are the facts from the Trends Journal. This is after the election. And what do we got here? As evidenced by polling data, the myth that reactionary white working class men elected Trump continues to be perpetuated by the prostitute media and promoted by anti-Trump demonstrations that erupted following his election. In fact, Trump received the same number of white male votes as did Mitt Romney in 2012. And despite Hillary Clinton playing, quote, the first woman to be elected president gender card since she launched her campaign in spring of 2015, you ready for this? She received 2 million fewer votes from women than Obama did in 2012. More importantly, just 30% of eligible women cast their ballot for Clinton, compared to 47% who did not vote. And some 2 million black voters who cast ballots for Obama in 2012 did not cast ballots for Clinton. And you know why? Because Slick Willie Clinton put all those people in jail. That's right. You remember, maybe you don't. 3 strikes, you're out. Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, and built the prison industrial complex. That's why they didn't vote for you, Hillary. Again, can't stand you. Oh, and to say that, oh, women listen to their sons and their husbands and their bosses, and they voted for who they told them, you know, grow up. But she won't grow up. She's still in high school. The same kind of person you hated in high school that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. A high school state of mind, but with a real strong murderous streak in there. Yep. And as reported, quote, as a percentage of votes cast, all racial groups swung toward the Republican candidate in 2016 compared with 2012. However, you ready for this, Hillary? I know you can't swallow this because all you do is swallow Diet Coke and spew out crap. But listen to this. White voters showed the lowest swing to the Republicans, 1 percentage point, compared with African Americans, 7 percentage points, Latinos, 8 percentage points, and Asian Americans, 11 percentage points. Today you got it. All right? The whites didn't go Republican. The blacks, the Latinos, and the Asians did because they can't stand you. Neither can I, or anybody that listens to your murderous ways and your history of corruption. And don't forget to give money to the Clinton Foundation. Yeah, it's called paybacks. We'll be back in a bit. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. And of course, it's great being here on Alex Jones Show, being a part of the InfoWars warriors that try to do our best to bring out the facts. It's not fake news that they're selling us. It's dumb news. It's dumbed down America. So it's great being here. You know, I'm not a Trump fan. You know, I make this very clear. I'm not a fan of anybody. I'm a political atheist. I look at things the way they are and call them the way they are. There are things I disagree with Trump on, things I agree with him on. But again, it's a constant attack on him, and it's not helping us, and it's dividing the nation. And one of the ways they're attacking him is on the trade issue. And again, you only stay with the facts because that's what we do at Trends Journal, trendsresearch.com, is that we analyze facts. And the facts are these real quick. Talking about the disgusting Clintons, the murderer. You like that Yugoslav war, folks, huh? Remember that one by him? Now, maybe you like when he was bombing Iraq every 3 days. Every time he'd get caught with his pants down, so to speak, you know, he'd be bombing away in Baghdad. They were bombing the place about every 3 days. And again, you remember Madeleine Albright, or not all that bright, another murderer, and her saying on 60 Minutes when she was ambassador, is the price of 500,000 Iraqi children under the age of 5 dead worth it? Under Clinton's sanctions, Slick Willie sanctions, worth it? And she said, yes, it is. So again, when I'm talking about Clinton, he's a disgusting human being in many different levels. But the big one of his big ones is to sell out America, going back to trade. And trade's really important because that's the kind of jobs we have. And because of the sellout, we have lousy jobs. And the facts are there. He promised us 200,000 jobs with NAFTA, and we lost almost 1 million, about 850,000. So before I continue to go on to trade and how they're going after Trump, I want to talk about something very important, and it's your supporting InfoWars. Because if you don't, you can't keep going at the level it is. It needs support, just like with our magazine, the Trends Journal. We don't have subscribers, we can't keep going. So again, if you want the facts, consider, again, putting your money where your mind is and clearing up your throat a little bit with introducing Immune Gargle. Oh, yeah. Available at an introductory sale at 33% off. So staying healthy on the go is just as important as staying healthy at home. Again, you have that air purifier, you're going to be healthy at home as well. But sometimes supplements don't work, and they don't work fast enough. And you know, one of the first books I worked on was Natural Healing back in 1980s, and I have an honorary doctorate from the National University of Health Sciences for the work I've done in complementary and integrative medicine. So we're talking about Immune Gargle. I'm all for this. And that's why they've created it. And it's a powerful new addition to the Super Blue line, Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle. And it's an incredible new purifying formula with an all-purpose use. Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle comes in a convenient small bottle, or as we used to say, bottle in the Bronx. And it's dentist recommended for daily use whenever you feel like you need to stay clean. So with affordable Super Blue Immune Gargle, staying toxin-free on the go is easy and affordable. Help stop the spread of toxins and stay healthy with Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle, now available for an introductory 33% off. So there you got it. Stay with Alex Jones. Stay with the products. These products don't only help support InfoWars, they help support your good health. And what's more important than that? All the dough in the world isn't worth good health. And with these products, you can stay healthy and grow healthy. Now, going back to the trade issue, show you propaganda from the New York Times. They like to call themselves the paper of record. I prefer to call them the toilet paper of record because it's only good for one thing. And I have to read this garbage every day, by the way. Let me show you what we read all the time. So I just want to find out what's going on. And then I make up my own mind and decide what's fact, what's fiction, and what's propaganda. And here's a propaganda headline right for you here. Talking again, going back to trade. Trump sees trade loss by ignoring key sector. You probably work in the service sector. This seems like a safe assertion, as 84% of private sector jobs in the United States are in service. By contrast, goods-producing jobs like logging, mining, construction, and manufacturing account for only 20.5 million jobs last month. They go on. Now, just remember what I said. That little low-life, slimy, SOB, murderous Slick Willie Clinton and Al Gore. Yeah, another guy born on third base and thought he hit a home run. Be a nobody if his old man wasn't a senator. Just like the guy we got here in New York. Yeah, Andrew Cuomo. And his brother on CNN. If his old man wasn't Mario, wouldn't know these cats. Anyway, going back to how they promised us service sector jobs. Hey, isn't it great working at Amazon? Yeah. Hey, how's your hernia this week? Got no dough? Don't worry about it. Get a job at Target. Hey, maybe CVS. No, I know. How about Walmart? All right? Service sector job. So they're going after Trump because he's talking about merchandise goods. And that's the way that forever they have been reporting the trade deficit. Not putting service into it, but merchandise trade deficit. Because those are the jobs that pay money. But now these little clowns, these little propagandists, who, by the way, sold you the Iraq War. Oh, you remember? Oh, you forgot? Yeah, the New York slime, the toilet paper record. I told you that Saddam Hussein got these aluminum tubes and yellow cakes, and he's going to be baking and shipping a nuclear weapon and a weapon of mass destruction near you soon. That's the New York Times. Again, distorting the fact. It's the merchandise trade deficit. And that's what's been reported forever. So that just goes to show you what's going on. Let's look at the facts. Now, the market's down today. Boom, bop, bloop, bop, down over 400 points. You know what they're doing? First, they blamed Trump for tweeting. Yeah, when it went down a couple of weeks ago, they blamed him. He was firing Gary Cohen. Gary who? Who cared? Nobody cared. It's not why the markets are going down. Again, right here in your Trends Journal, we were the first to forecast the Trump rally a week after he got elected. And we were the first to forecast that the rally has peaked. That's what this is about. And there's a reason why. Got nothing to do with tweets. Don't care about Gary Cohen. No, it's bigger than that. And it may hurt a lot of the economy, not only in the United States, but around the world. What is it? Now, it's at $29.95. I'm only kidding. Going to tell you in a couple of minutes. We come back from InfoWars to tell you where the economy's going, what to do to prepare for it, and be on top of the news and ahead of the trends. Right here. Back in a bit. Hey, great being back and great being on the Alex Jones Show and InfoWars and the Info Warriors. Thank you guys and women for all that you do. Anyway, I was talking before we took the break about where are the markets going and where the economy is going. Again, it has nothing to do with Trump tweets or that guy Gary, what's his name, Cohen, who everybody didn't know, and he's gone now and forgotten. It has to do with interest rates. End of story, and the beginning of the story. The beginning of the story is when the markets crashed and the economy was collapsing back in 2008 with the panic of '08, which, by the way, we forecast, we even took the domain name out, 2007, the panic of '08. The way they juiced up the economy was with cheap money. Beginning and end of story. They didn't teach you about negative and zero interest rate policy and quantitative easing in Economics 101. So when people say to me, you know, Salenti, you said this thing was going to collapse again in 2012. You're right, I did. But I didn't know about negative zero interest rates and quantitative easing or negative bond yields. If you're over there in Japan, you buy that 10-year bond, and when you cash it in 10 years from now, it's going to give you less than you bought it for. Hey, can't make this stuff up. Yes, they did. So it was the cheap money. It's like, again, going back to the products that you get on InfoWars. These help cure and prevent. Unlike Big Pharma's drugs, all they do is they just relieve the symptoms. There's no allotropic drug on the market that cures a chronic degenerative disease. And that's what this is. The low interest rate, quantitative easing is an allotropic drug. It just relieved the symptoms. It did not cure the problem. We all know the data. people that listen to InfoWars have heard it over and over again. You know, it's 78% of the people living paycheck to paycheck. Oh, yeah, the $13.2 trillion in consumer debt. Oh, you've heard it all. Now interest rates go up. How about that student loan debt, huh? I forgot about that. So, higher interest rates go, the lower the markets go. Because the way the markets got juiced is all that cheap money went into stock buybacks and merger and acquisition activity. Wednesday, the Fed's coming out. The Fed, of course, is Federal Express. They're private banksters that have taken over the country. They're going to come out with their interest rate program. Last December, they said they're going to raise interest rates 3 times in 2018. Now it looks like 4. And that's why you're seeing the markets go down. They're very interest rate sensitive. You're seeing home sales, new home building, permits for new homes, new mortgage applications, all going down as interest rates go up. Not only here, but hey, north of the border, up in Canada way, down to as interest rates go up, and interest rates are extremely low there anyway, as they are in the United States. The Fed rate is only ranging between 1.25 and 1.50. That's nothing. When you count that they raised it 5 times since 2015, that hardly accounts for inflation. It doesn't. It's below inflationary levels. But yet even the hint of a rise in rates is bringing down the markets. And the euro rose on Monday, that's today, after Reuters reported that the European Central Bank officials are shifting their debate from bond purchases to the expected path of interest rate rises. So the central bank club is one club. So when the United States raises rates, they're going to do the same thing over there in the EU. They got negative rates over there. That's right. You put money in the bank and you lose money. Actually, the same thing here. You're really not getting any interest. When I was a young guy, you used to get a thing called interest, and they had CDs. But anyway, that's what the markets are sensitive about. The quantitative easing and the zero interest rate policy, again, it only relieved the symptoms. It did not cure the disease. And then you start seeing stories like this, one after another. This is in the Financial Times. Fed looks at lifting pace of interest rates. Bullish outlook from Powell expected amid stronger global growth. Again, can the global economy take higher interest rates? We don't believe so. And we believe that if there's pressure on the market seriously, they're going to do a reversal. Again, this is springtime, coming very soon, like tomorrow, right? Or a couple of days. And what do we have? Beginning of the housing season. This is the peak season. Look at auto sales already. They're going down as interest rates go up. So now let's tie this into gold. The stronger the dollar gets, the lower prices gold gets. Because the higher the interest rates, there's a cost of carrying gold. So if interest rates go up higher, that's more strength for the dollar. Gold prices go down. But they're raising interest rates probably on the euro, so that'll keep the euro up. Where is the dollar going? We believe it's going to be a weak dollar. The reason why is I believe the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, when he was in Davos a few months ago, and said the United States favors a weaker dollar. That's coming out of the mouth of the Treasury Secretary. Trump tried to cover it up afterwards, but I don't buy it. I think the United States wants a weak dollar. That's good for gold. So here's our gold forecast. Right now, we're looking at gold trading below $13.20 an ounce, $1,320. If gold breaks below $1,300 an ounce, we're looking at another possible $100 downside. That's not a big downside when you consider what the upside is. Our forecast is gold has to go over $13.85 an ounce, solidify under there, then move to $14.50. When it really solidifies over $1,450 an ounce, then it's a Bitcoin bounce, way over $2,000. Now, on the other end, talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you had a bad week. It depends on who's going to regulate what, where, when, and how. End of story. But now it's bouncing up again, over $8,000. So here's our forecast of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes below $7,000, shoot, wow, there's a big downside risk. It has to stabilize over $11,000 strongly for it to move higher. Now, I say Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the leader. It's about a third of the market of the cryptocurrencies. A year ago, it was 80% of the market. But it's still, that sets the pace. Will there be winners and losers in there? Yes, of course there will be. But that's our forecast for it, and that's what we're sticking to. And as I say goodbye in a couple of minutes, I also want to remind you about a great product that you should also consider purchasing. And they're introducing now at InfoWars, Myco ZX Plus from InfoWars Life, an introductory price of $27.48. That's 50% off. So again, what are we talking about? Toxins. We began talking about Miss Toxin, Hillary Clinton. And with all the dangerous toxins and new sources of food and drinks that come into the world, it's becoming more important to make sure your gut is in check. And that's why the InfoWars team of dedicated scientists worked hard to create a new and advanced formula to build up your gut health, Myco ZX Plus. So remember, don't wait to start detoxifying your body until it's too late. Pick up a bottle of the new and improved Myco ZX Plus now from the InfoWars store. So there you got it. Really want to thank, of course, Alex Jones, the InfoWars crew, for having me on. And again, it's not fake news they're putting out there. It's dumb news. Don't tune into this garbage. It only wrecks your brain. Stay tuned to InfoWars and, of course, the Trends Journal. This is Gerald Salenti, and that's some of today's trends in the news. See you soon.
It's been sold out for months, and now it's back. It's Myco ZX Plus. Lower price, more ingredients, because we scaled up, signed a year contract with an even bigger organic manufacturer and producer. Scalability. But now we're able to go at 50% off to $27 instead of $39, 50% off. Because there's a lot of product and a lot of ingredient in Myco ZX. Now, it's the other side of the equation. Everybody thinks about probiotics and how great they are for your gut because of toxins in the environment, pesticides, herbicides, but more importantly than bad bacteria that probiotics help displace, yeast mold creates slime walls. And once the candida and the yeast and the mold and all that get in there, it causes all sorts of serious issues. Well, this has got a bunch of concentrated herbs in it and compounds known to destroy that slime wall. Don't wait to start detoxifying your body until it's too late. Pick up a bottle of the new and improved Myco ZX Plus now from the InfoWars store.